Good morning. Oh, okay. Our last event, the speakers would go in and out, so I was like, just making sure you guys hear me. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Native Edge Institute, Sacramento. Thank you all for joining us today. Just a little bit background on me. My name is Kaya Jackson. I am a citizen of the St. Carlos Apache tribe in southeast Arizona. I'm also a descendant of the Assiniboine tribe of Fort Peck, Montana. So just a little bit. I worked with my tribe prior to being a part of the National Center, and about 3 years ago, I joined the team, and it has been really awesome because we do amazing things, things like bringing these Native Edge Institutes to different areas around the U.S., working with clientele from artisans all the way to those getting into government contracting. And it was just really exciting for me to come on board because I just worked solely with tribal members within my tribe. And then once getting onto National Center, we were able to do so much more. So just wanted to highlight that and give you a bit of background about myself. Well, for everyone here today, I'm just so honored that you guys are able to join us and that you guys came in person. That's a big step, not just for a business owner, but just entrepreneurs, community members. I want to say thank you to the Sacramento area for having us here, but also to the tribes in the area. Thank you as well. Let's see. The NEIs are such a good place so you can broaden your business, connect with community, and then also just like invest in yourself. I just kind of want to go through about the day. We have a full day planned ahead with a lot of very insightful sessions, some awesome speakers lined up, some of my favorite, some that we had from other NEIs as well. Let's see. When we have speakers up there, please feel free to interact with them and engage. This is your space to learn too as well. We'll have time set aside for Q&As afterwards, and then also plenty of time for networking too as well during like our lunch or after the event. When asking a question, please raise your hand so I can run a mic over. This benefits just not everyone in the room, but we have an online audience joining us too as well. And so we would like for them to hear the question or hear your comments. Let's see. Restrooms, they're located right across the hall once you walk out the door. Lunch, where we have the coffee and the pastry set up outside. We're also going to have box lunches there. When the time comes, it's going to be around 12 o'clock. You can get your lunch, and you can feel free to come back and sit in here because we're going to get going with our next session right away. Let's see. If you need anything throughout the day, directions, assistance, or you just have questions in general, feel free to wave me down if you see me, or if not, we have several of our staff here that you can reach out to. The two ladies in the front at the registration, please feel free to ask and reach out. Speaking of our staff, I just want to say this event wouldn't be possible. We've been on a roll with several different NEIs. We were just in Mescalero? Yes, we were in Mescalero, New Mexico. Really awesome to see some faces that were there or other previous NEIs because we've been having these back-to-back, I want to say like every 2 to 3 weeks. But our staff is awesome, so I just want to recognize them really quick. We have Erin Abrahamson in the back. She's our chief of staff. She's actually going to be up here pretty soon, so I'll let her introduce herself then. And then we have Joanne Nota Bigay. She's with our export program. She's there in the back. And then we have Mabel Sosi. She's with our Apex Accelerator team. And then we have Michaela Garcia. You'll see her running around with the camera, or she might pull you for an interview, introduction, anything. But let me see who else is in here. Shirley. We have Shirley. She's with our export team. And then we have Charmaine, our administrative assistant, our administrative specialist. She's out at registration. She helped you with your badge, gave you your papers. And then we have Nicole Watson with our tourism program. And then we have Pranav. He's our intern with us this summer. He's going to be following Michaela around with the camera, really getting a lot of hands-on learning with that. He comes from the UNC, so University of North Carolina. And then we have our awesome video team, Skybear Media, our contractor that we work with. You see some of the amazing graphics or even like the videos that we put out, recaps. They handle our live streaming. They make us look good. So thank you so much to Skybear Media. Let's see. Digital access, so just kind of follow up. I will be emailing maybe next week all the information that we go through today. So the link for the live feed, that'll be posted onto our YouTube channel, but I'll give you the link for that. A short survey. We really want to know what additional topics, sessions you guys want to hear from us, what we could do better on, things like that. And then also today's PowerPoints. So if you have not put your email down with our registration, please do so. That way we can get all this information to you. Let's see. I talked about the mics. Okay. I'm just closing. Thank you guys again for being here, and I hope you guys get something out of today. If you guys please join me and welcome Aaron Abrahamson, our Chief of Staff, who'll be offering some opening remarks.
Good morning, everybody. Again, thank you guys for all of you for coming, especially those that are here in person. It takes a lot to come out and sit all day through a training. Like Kaya said, my name is Aaron Abrahamson. I'm the Chief of Staff for the National Center. I've been with the National Center for 8 years now. And as far as our Native Edge Institutes go, we are in year 7 of this. So I've been with the National Center from the time that we started these Native Edge Institutes. It was about 7 years ago. We started the summer of 2018. Our first one was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and since then we've been all over, including Alaska and Hawaii a few times. And so I think this is our 3rd one here in the Sacramento area. We've done over in Cache Creek Casino, but we really enjoy coming, and so again, thank you for being here. Like Kaya said, we not only have those that are here in person, but we do have an online presence. We have people that are streaming this online, so again, thank you to those that are online watching. A little bit about the National Center. We are a 50-plus year organization. We're a nonprofit organization that focuses on economic development with tribally owned and individually owned businesses, but we, serve all small businesses alike. So we started these trainings in 2018 to kind of move away from having so many full production events. When our president and CEO, Chris James, started with the National Center, we had 4 large events a year. We'd have our annual conference, our Reservation Economic Summit, and then we'd have 3 regional events, which were still 3-day full production events. So we decided, instead of putting so much money into those events, that we were going to have our one annual conference, and we were going to step back and see what the community needed, and what it was having events like this, the Native Edge Institutes, that focuses on the businesses, those businesses that may not be able to make it to our annual conference, but we're able to still provide the trainings necessary for you to come and get, some of the business development consultants that are here in your area. If you need assistance with access to capital, we have those people that are here in your area. And that's what we decided to do, and we kicked it off 7 years ago, and we've been going strong. This past year, we've done a lot more than we've normally done. We usually try to do one a month, except for the month that we have our annual conference. So we usually do about 11. This year we've been doing them almost every 2 weeks since our annual conference in March. So it has been pretty busy, but we've been able to meet so many people along the way, and again, provide these trainings to everybody. So we hope you get the most out of this training today. And like Kaya said, everything that is going to be on all the slides and everything will be sent to you next week. So again, thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoy.
All right. Thank you so much, Erin. We're going to start a little bit early. We're going to go in with our first session. We have Jody Hart and Traven Joseph. Please make your way up here. Jody is with the Community Advantage 7A loan, or she's with statewide CDC. She's a Community Advantage 7A loan officer. And then Traven Joseph is with Raven Capital Partners, and he is the investment analyst. And so I think we have, do you have a PowerPoint, Traven? No? Okay. We'll start with Jody. Can you bring up the PowerPoint? Okay. And then here's the clicker for it.
I don't have a PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. I thought you did. So I have to open up. Okay. Yay.
Oh, I was just sharing with you guys.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here. My name's Jody Harth. I'm a loan officer with statewide CDC. We do SBA lending, and I promise I'm going to get into all the acronyms and the titles that are out there as far as SBA, Small Business Administration lending goes. But first, I wanted to share that the favorite part of my job is working with entrepreneurs and small business owners like you in the audience or you online. Some of what I'm going to say is a little bit more specific to the Sacramento area, but we do lending in California, Arizona, and Nevada. My purpose is I specialize in lending and packaging, and working with our applicants for their financials, reviewing their financials, crafting the narratives to present to our board and to SBA. So about my company, Statewide CDC, we're a certified development company, which is a title from the SBA so that you know that you can come to our nonprofit to be connected to SBA lending. Our headquarters are in Davis. We also have an office in LA where we do a lot of work, but we have board members and loan officers in Arizona and Nevada as well. We've been established since 1987, and where our focus is in 504 lending, which I'll get into, but we want to connect anybody that reaches out with us to the resources that they need. So why the SBA? Why the Small Business Administration? They say, and I agree with 100%, is that small businesses are the backbone of our economy. So they are invested in having entrepreneurs and small businesses succeed. And in addition to that, it reduces lender risk. So the Small Business Administration can get involved when other lenders might not be willing to lend. So it reduces lender risk so they're more comfortable getting involved. It lowers down payments so you can preserve cash for your business, personal and business cash. It offers longer repayment terms, so if you're looking at something shorter than 20 years, the SBA can offer up to 25 years. Competitive rates and flexible credit standards. So it's those flexible credit standards that I think is a huge positive to the program. So the 504 program is the bread and butter of what we do. So it's fixed asset lending for, so a lot of what we work with is owner-occupied commercial real estate, so purchases of commercial real estate for your business, but it also extends to equipment, ground-up construction, improvements for your property, refinances, pulling cash out. What makes this program unique is its structure. So 50% is where the bank or a credit union can get involved to finance half of what you need for your business, whereas the CDC will finance up to 40%, where the borrower comes in with 10%. And if you're working with just a bank, what they're looking at is usually 20% at least of an injection, of a down payment for your business. So the benefits of working with the SBA for this is the loan down payment, the fixed rates, stable payments so you know exactly what you're dealing with. And there are some eligibility concerns. So it is for-profit businesses, so we don't lend to nonprofits. The categorization of small business is actually pretty large, so a net worth of under $20 million, huge. And net income under $6.5 million, average for the last 3 years. So a wide range of businesses fit under the umbrella, from the startups that have no revenues to some larger scaled businesses. Our clients, the industries that we serve are wide ranging, manufacturers, contractors, healthcares, food and hospitality industry, but we are limited to what's federally legal, so no marijuana businesses. And so that's the 504 program in a nutshell, high-level review. But the benefits of working with a CDC are that you have a loan officer, not myself personally, but with any CDC that you work with, that will guide you through the process from beginning to end, and a team that is well-versed in traversing these waters. The 7A program is kind of the contemporary to this, whereas the 504 program is just fixed assets. The 7A program can get you a wider range of purposes. So working capital, which is just the funds that you need to finance the everyday operations of your business, whether it's lease payments for the property that you rent, or salaries for your workers, or utilities, just an advertising budget. Right? This is working capital and something that we work with frequently. Equipment, it can also purchase real estate. Or refinance, or is a very strong candidate for acquiring businesses, which can include, like, we've financed the acquisition of a pool business route. So not everything has to be really physically based, but the 7A program is just such a Swiss Army knife of what you want to do. Like, if you have an idea for your business, you can come to us, or I know that later on there's going to be some SBDC's Small Business Development Center representatives talking. They can help too in crafting this narrative of financing for your business. And the 7A program, the loan amounts can be up to $5 million, 25 years for commercial real estate, and up to 10 years for everything else. So it's ideal for startups, acquisitions, partner buyouts. If you're in business with somebody and they'd like to, relinquish their control of the business to you and want to be compensated, we can work to set that up. Now, where I come into play is a subset of the 7A program called the Community Advantage Program. So this was a pilot program for a long time and just became official a year or two ago. So the purpose of the Community Advantage Program is designed to be small. So their loan amounts up to $350,000, and their target is underserved markets. So that includes demographics and geographic locations. So demographics can be minority-owned, including Native American, as well as women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and geographic, such as opportunity zones, or where I focus on is rural areas. So where these intersect, it's amazing, but it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be one. And most commonly, what I work with are startups. So about 60% of the businesses that I work with are startups. So sometimes, eventually, we'll need business plans and projections for startups. And a lot of the time, I can review what's made already and provide, not necessarily critiques, but ask questions. Like, I want to drill down. I want to make sure that these are based in reality and they make sense. And I can craft a narrative underwriting the loan to our board and to the SBA, and ultimately in the success of your business. We want it to be based as realistically as possible. But it's for established businesses as well. So it finances the same things that the 7A program finances. I would say, the entrepreneur's strength is their vision. So you bring your vision of what you need for your business, and you can work with somebody, with a lender, to tailor that in where we think that makes sense. or with other organizations under sort of the umbrella of the SBA, like the SBDCs, the Small Business Development Centers, to hone that vision in a way that's very targeted and precise. And the advantages of the Community Advantage Program is, they're designed for underserved markets, and they provide the flexible underwriting, limited collateral, and a lot of support for businesses. So the collateral is not strictly necessary for the Community Advantage Program. Sometimes, lenders will look at that, maybe if there's equity in your home, but a lot of the times the use of proceeds themselves is enough. So if you're buying equipment for your business, you're buying a vehicle because, you're a construction worker. You need to get everything carried around because your current vehicle's on its last legs. Like, these are the things that we look at and can make work. So, we don't necessarily need to be fully collateralized at all. Like, we just want to put our money to the most use. We want to develop the communities that need that investment the most, that can't find financing elsewhere, is what we focus on. My personal value to this program is public speaking is great. It's the first event that I've actually done in a bit, but I love getting one-on-one with people. It is so inspiring to hear their stories and see how I can personally help them, whether it's with my company or it's getting them access to resources. Maybe the business needs to develop a little bit more, and we can get them access to mentorship and recommendations. Or maybe, we're not the right lender. That's not, it's not always the case that we can get it done. But I partner with CDFIs. There's actually, this is once again more regional, more local. On the other side of Exposition, there's the Women's Business Center, which is kind of like a SBDC. And California Capital is there as well. They're a CDFI, that is a community development financial institution. And sometimes the loans that I can't make work, they can make work, because one of their priorities is also, if an applicant gets rejected for financing elsewhere, they're gonna try, even harder to make it work. So we collaborate a lot. So that's what we have, in addition to our lending ability, is a network of people that also want to get you the support that you need, whether it's financial or other support resources. And then my role as a loan officer is kind of a relationship role with my applicants. So I want to simplify the process as much as possible. I want to identify those challenges early and address them, because we're not looking for surprises, but part of the Community Advantage Program is we find the reasons why maybe it's not eligible for financing elsewhere, and we address them in a clear way that says, hey, this can still work. So I package the loan for the committee, put it together for the SBA, and I maintain those strong networks to get connections. So I didn't bring my phone. What time are we at? Okay, 10:05. Wow, okay, so I'm wrapping up early. So I will go into even more details. So I just wanted to give a high-level overview at first to let you know what's out there. So we're not always the right fit, but we're here to help people get the information that they need. Okay, so yeah, so the Small Business Administration has a lot of resources. So I don't know at this point if we want to, I can just ask some general questions about what people are interested in for their business. If they want to ask some questions, feel free. Oh. I will add that as part of the 504 program, it can be complicated because there's two lenders involved, but usually one kind of takes over the communication. So it's got its hurdles, as well as Community Advantage. I would say one of the drawbacks to this program is the time that it takes. I've tried to measure it and tried to see like how fast can I do it, but it's really 45 to 60 days for funding. I haven't really been able to get it much longer than that. So that's where banks and unfortunately some of the faster credit like merchant cash advances enter the picture, because they're fast, they're a day, they're a week, and we take a little longer, but we're very safe. So, sorry, thank you.
No, it's okay. Hi, Jody. I'm Alicia Burns. I'm with Westwater Financial. We're a native CDFI over in Sonoma County. We serve California. I had a couple questions. When you say that the underwriting is flexible, how does the credit score affect the underwriting?
Yeah, so part of the Community Advantage program, the SBA provides the minimum credit standards, and a CDC or a bank can, elevate that or add their own flavor to it, essentially. As far as credit score goes, I mean, we could say that we could work with lower credit scores, like 650 or lower, but ultimately what we rely upon is the SBA also provides a sort of credit score. So we, provide some information about the business, the financing that they seek. The SBA gives their own proprietary score that has minimums and maximums, but we've done loans under the minimum SBA credit score below, because it just means that we have to take a really strong look at the business financials. It affects not really our standing, but our board looks at what kind of loans that we do, what kind of risk is involved, because when we lend as part of the Community Advantage program, we're lending our own money. So it's guaranteed by the SBA, so we feel a lot safer, but essentially it is riskier for us, but it is something that we're comfortable with. So if there's, bankruptcies, even recent late payments, there's a loan that I just finished underwriting that has a series of late payments in 2023. We don't really have an issue with that, especially when there's a good explanation behind it, and we delve into that and we figure out the story that is compelling to make it work. So credit scores, Community Advantage is really a safe bet for any sort of even no credit type businesses and startup businesses. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
Okay, 1 second.
Hi there, my name is Landra. I own a company called Dirty Deeds, and I do home staging and organizing, kind of readying homes for sale with realtors. And I work out of Sonoma and Marin counties. I had an informational kind of call with my credit union, which happens to be Redwood Credit Union in Sonoma County.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And I haven't done anything prior than just talking to him for about 40 minutes. But he did mention 10 years as like the top limit, and you were saying it's 25. So
for real estate, but it is 10 years
just
for
real
the other types of loans. Yes.
okay, so I don't know that I'm at the real estate level yet. I think I may just want to lease a warehouse, but I do need to purchase an inventory of furniture. So would that fall into the 10-year?
It does, yes.
Okay.
So inventory, I mean, it can depend. I mean, there's 3, 5, 7 year. At our CDC, we do everything under the 10-year sort of category. But in theory, you're looking at useful life. But I think it's more flexible than that. So I would, if you had come to me for a loan, I would say, oh yeah, we're doing 10 years here. So.
Okay, yeah, because that makes the payment quite a bit higher if
Yeah.
it's 10-year rather than 20.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we look at merchandisers as well. So they want to, order in bulk because that's more affordable for them and makes sense. And a lot of people were looking into that because of tariffs as well. You have some instability. They just want to front load. And the other thing is, like, when you're kind of piecemealing your orders, one clothing retailer was just like, we actually run out of stock. And on the one hand, it's kind of cool to build up that, oh, we're so exclusive. But really, we don't have consistent sales because we don't have the product that we need. So it makes sense to be able to have all that. And in the case of your business, you need access to different kinds of furniture because they need to fit the space that they're in.
Exactly.
Or multiple houses at the same time, I'd imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
exactly. What would be the benefit of working with you versus the credit union?
Well, the SBA can offer more flexible terms. Sometimes it's the credit, so you can shop around multiple offers. And I didn't get into the specifics of our program, but there are costs to the SBA. I would still say that they're less than a bank. So if you're looking at a $100,000 loan or a $300,000 loan, the bank might charge a flat fee. We charge a flat fee, and it's $2,500, but it's lower for certain categories. So like veterans get a discount. The SBA recently, after a period of about 4+ years around COVID, of getting rid of their guarantee fee, which was a percentage of the loan, has recently reinstituted that, and that is 1.5% to 2.5% of what they're guaranteeing. I always try and avoid to get into too much details because it's like a percent of a loan amount that can be flexible. So I love to talk to people individually because with a hard number, I can give them exactly what they need. But for us, and I think for a lot of underwriting practices, is there's no cost at all, at least for us, and often for other people, until we get board approval. So you can come to us, you could just test the waters if you want. And if you don't want to proceed with an SBA loan knowing that you were approved by our board, and I haven't had a case where our board's approved a loan where the SBA has not, you can say, oh, I don't want to proceed at this time, call it good. No money lost. You probably spend a good amount of time, but you've probably also learned a lot about your financials in the meantime, and get an understanding of your plans. So that's where that comes into play.
Okay, great, thank you.
Of course.
We have a question from the online audience as well. Richard Perez Sr. asks, do you foresee any changes to the SBA lending practices?
So they have. We recently got new standard operating procedures as of June 1st. They're updates to the program. So previously, and once again, I hope this is not too much detail, but of course I get excited about it because it's the world that I operate in. There was sort of a do what you do mentality, which is the SBA put more trust in us to get loans done. And so anything that we can do to make this process easier for our applicants, we're not looking to make loans riskier, but we are looking to streamline where we can. That went away, and the SBA was just like, no, you know what, we want you to do exactly what we want you to do. So that's one of the changes, and that's fine. We're used to working in the parameters of the SBA, no surprises there. One thing is, I didn't touch on, is as a nonprofit and as a lender, we have the ability to go out and get funds to use for our loans. And one of the funds that we had access to was a grant specifically designed for Native American rural communities. And so we wanted to utilize that as much as possible. We still have the ability to apply for it, but there has been some worry that with the administration pulling back from, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that there could be some effects on the grants that we're able to receive. But ultimately, for the Community Advantage program, we're lending our own money, so that doesn't specifically affect us, but it might end up affecting some of the resources that we collect to lend out. So ultimately, I still feel like it's business as usual for us, but the environment has certainly changed.
Hi, Stephen Leash on Sovereignty Construction in Southern California, general construction. I have 3 questions. Are there collateral requirements for that loan and personal guarantee the loan? And then it also states it has to be 2 years in operation. Is that a hard 2 years within, or can it be over 2 years?
So we work with startups. So to answer your questions as far as collateral, we will seek the collateral. So if you're buying a work truck, or if you're buying equipment, or if you're buying inventory, we'll collateralize the loan with that. And we might look at outside collateral, but they're not strictly necessary. So don't let not having collateral be an impediment to seeking financing, because as part of the Community Advantage program, not a requirement. As far as, let's see what you were saying there. Personal guarantee, we do look for personal guarantee. We can look at outside income from the business to support it. And that can be the case in the case of startups, where we want to see like, hey, maybe the spouse has some income from an outside job that they're using to support the household. So we might look at a spousal guarantee as well, because we want to make sure, ultimately the ideal goal is the business supports you and your lifestyle. But in the case of a startup, or if that's not the case, if we're scaling up, we'll look at personal guarantees and maybe some outside income. And I think I missed your first question. 2 years in business, yes. So no, it's not necessary for the Community Advantage program.
Does statewide CDC do anything with businesses that export?
We can. I know it's essentially an option when, we're just looking to get financing to businesses. So there are, I know, categories that we look at for businesses that do export. So it's not a limiting factor, but it is something that we'll look at. And then I haven't personally worked on businesses that export as part of the Community Advantage program. They do tend to be regional. We also work with a lot of restaurants, because restaurants have a hard time getting financing traditionally. So some midtown restaurants, some gaming cafes. So a lot of them are more service-based, I'd say, and not really exporters or part of my specific wheelhouse.
I have a quick question. Does the state of California have a STEP program, the Trade Expansion Loan Program?
What is that, Trade Expansion Loan Program?
Yes. Does the state of California have that? Because I know that we in Arizona have that type of funding for exporters to assist with marketing and like business development as well, and supporting small businesses that want to participate in trade missions.
Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with that, and not part of my organization. I don't know about California as a whole, but there have been other access to capital events where they talk about exporting, but I think I'm thinking more of government contracts. I've seen a lot of government contracts, so sorry, I'm not that familiar with the exporting nature of businesses.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
What advice do you have for the young entrepreneur who might just be starting out and they're looking at maybe a service type of business, but so they don't really have a lot of assets or credit yet? What's the best way to set themselves up for success with getting funding?
I think just getting interested in business as a whole. So coming to these kinds of events or working with a mentor at a small business development center, I think those are excellent first steps. They will give you a taste of what it's like. Also, small businesses are really interested in working together. I would say it's more so collaborative than competitive. Same thing with lenders in my experience, especially part of the Community Advantage program. Like, we are so open in referring and providing advice because we care about making sure that people get what they need. So I'd say coming to events like this, getting a broad overview of what's available, and then also speaking to owners in the industries that you're interested is a good peek into that. From there, I think it's really like business plan, like what do you want to do, where do you want to be, who's your client base, what do you need to get started. Sometimes I feel like there's two issues, that people want to do so much that they can't focus in. So sometimes they think it's like, oh man, I need access to a lot of money to do this, and this. The other side of the coin is they actually don't have, don't think they actually need more than they're planning for, which I think is the case in restaurants, because they're so capital intensive that, if you have a bad month, that is unfortunately a domino effect of very difficult to recover from. So sometimes getting started with more money than you think you need is necessary. So I know that you're not too specific about the service industry that you're in, but there are some that aren't too capital intensive, and I think finding your market and what you need and just getting out there and exploring your options is definitely like the great way to dip your toes in the water. Yeah.
Does the 7A program work with nonprofits?
No, it does not. The SBA lending is for-profit companies. Our company doesn't do 7A lending directly. We just do the subset of Community Advantage, though. But other 7A lenders are available, but not for nonprofits. Yeah, all right. I think that pretty much sums it up. So I'm so excited to speak to anybody one-on-one that has some questions, whether you're ready for financing or you just want a personal touch to get access to other resources that you're interested in. If you have a pen, you can write down my email is Jodieh, Jodieh, @statewidecdc.com. My phone number will be on my signature in the email. I already get a lot of calls, so I'd hate to say if you called me, I wouldn't answer until I listened to the voicemail, because there's just a dozen calls a day of absolute spam, and I'm so sorry. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to working with everybody. And so the other side to SBA lending, of course, is the private equity portion. So good stuff there. Oh, I do want to share one more anecdote because it's a good segue into this. Is I had a company that reached out to me. I was really excited to work with them because, and I'm sure you hear this phrase a lot, the Uber of, which is you're like, oh, I'm innovating in the industry. But in this case, I mean, I really feel like they were. They wanted to make a site to collect the information of essentially contractors, of firefighters. So, and you could track like how ready their equipment is, because when it comes to an emergency situation with firefighters, apparently the de facto is you go on Facebook groups and you see who's available to come help you. So they wanted to make something more streamlined, a website, a service to connect people. And so I thought it was really amazing. It was rural. It was really something that had a mission impact, which is what we look for. But unfortunately, you know, we also are looking at established businesses. So, you know, even though it was amazing, it was innovative, they had a great business plan, they had sound projections. Unfortunately, we are not in the emerging industries. So I think I had to advise them, it's like, hey, you might want to look at some private equity. So, yeah.
It's a good segue. Thank you, Jody. Appreciate the good intro. Hey, how's it going, everybody? My name's Traven Joseph. I'm Kuikan Athabaskan and Ani from Alaska and Montana, and I grew up just north of here, a little bit in Oregon, in the Portland area. So it's fun to get down this way, join you all here, and yeah, appreciative for the Native Edge Institute team for inviting me down and having both of us here and the rest of the speakers as well. But yeah, I work at Raven Indigenous Capital Partners. We're a venture capital fund, originally based in Canada, but we have offices in Albuquerque and the New York area. And yeah, we invest in startup businesses across the US and Canada. Our thesis is that we invest in indigenous folks, so Native American, Alaskan Native properly, and then First Nations, Métis, and folks in Canada. And yeah, we've been around since 2019 or so. Our first fund started around then, and we're on Fund 2 now. We're about close to 3 years, I would say, into Fund 2. Describe us, I'll give you a quick overview of our firm in general, and then maybe we can walk through some of what venture capital is, what the right fit is for folks, what the trade-offs are compared to term debt. Ventures, basically another tool similar to term debt, both kind of different structure. But our fund, we're sector agnostic, so we'll invest in anything and everything, although there's some usual suspects, like Jody was mentioning. We don't invest in cannabis, alcohol, arms, pure crypto. There's another one I'm usually forgetting, but those are the 4 or 5 things we don't invest in, but everything else is generally fair game. So we have some folks in our portfolio that are in the battery storage sector, building supercapacitors. We have supply chain software management folks building software, and then some apparel folks in our portfolio, modular housing, things like that. So we kind of have our hands in a handful of things, which is a ton of fun. And Jody was mentioning one of her favorite parts was being able to chat with new folks and entrepreneurs and business owners, and that's absolutely true for me as well, being able to chat with Native entrepreneurs from all over doing really cool, fun stuff, and it's always fun to learn about kind of new pockets of businesses in the market and everything, and to really peer into how folks view the world. It's 100% agree with that. It's really a ton of fun. Brings me a lot of joy to just be constantly learning. But yeah, more about our fund. So yeah, like I mentioned, we invest in anything and everything, just about sector agnostic, like I mentioned. And our average check size ranges from $250,000 to upwards of maybe 3 to 5 million range. Early in our funds, or generally our fund kind of aims for a more concentrated portfolio. So we like to average out maybe around $1 million. So I'd say our average check size might be in that range. And in terms of the term, so in comparison to debt, you can have, 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, whatever it might be. In venture, normally folks look for 5 to 7 year hold time. So at the end of that 5 to 7 years, venture folks have to exit their position and return funding to our investors who invest into our fund, and then we invest in entrepreneurs. So that's another thing to consider with venture funding, is that 5 to 7 year hold time. And normally that'll come through either sale of the company, management buyback if the company's large enough, or we can pass our shares on to another investor that might want to be a partner in the business with the businesses that you guys are running. And yeah, our team, maybe I can talk a little bit about our team and where we're spread out. So our team is spread across Canada and the US. I myself in Portland, like I mentioned. We have folks in Albuquerque, New York, Denver, and then in Canada we have folks in Vancouver, Saskatoon. So we're kind of spread out, which is nice. We can kind of touch a larger area that way. And yeah, right now, there's 4 of us in the U.S., like I mentioned. So I'm roughly taking the West Coast. Our partner over in New York is taking kind of the East Coast, and someone covering the Southwest, Navajo Nation, and then Midwest and the South. So we're roughly, break it up geographically in that way, but we kind of hover around everywhere and mix and match, both across the U.S. and across geographies, across the continent. So yeah, that's a little bit about our fund. We're primarily seed stage investors, but we'll invest across pre-seed to Series A and B. And so definitionally, pre-seed companies is probably, you're in the idea stage, you have an idea, you want to execute on that, and then seed stage is maybe you have a viable product, or you have some hands-on with what you're trying to sell, and then you're looking for funding to kind of start growth. And then Series A is kind of leads into that growth stage where you're trying to unlock a higher level of output or volume or whatever it might be. So yeah, that's a little bit about our fund. Maybe lastly, I'll mention that our thesis being that we invest in Native entrepreneurs, we really put our best foot forward in terms of trying to have relational and patient capital. So we're not trying to go into the business and take over and have majority ownership by any means. We do want to target an ownership level kind of on the lower end, below 30, between maybe 10 and 30 probably is our sweet spot. Maybe 15 to 20 might be kind of our average target that we're looking for. So we really want to be partners with you guys, help you guys grow your business over time, and be there and be your supporters. Both from far and up close. So we do like to be active partners in the investments that we make. So we'll jump in wherever they need us for support, whether that be financial modeling, go-to-market strategies, or just networking, or if they need someone hands-on in their business at random times, we can jump in and support them where we can. So again, we really want to put relationships first and patience with the capital that we deploy and the circumstances, and kind of meet folks where they're at and then help them grow their business. And there's definitely different flavors with every business type, every kind of individual entrepreneur. So yeah, it's a ton of work goes into just meeting people where they're at. And supporting folks the best we can. So yeah, that's a little bit of our fund, and maybe I'll go into just what venture is, maybe describe it in relation to maybe term debt. That might be the best way. So the first is what venture capital is. What it is simply is equity in exchange for ownership on a business's cap table or ownership structure. So like I mentioned, we'll invest, say it's $1 million for 25% of your company, so that's a quarter of the company. We don't get paid back in installments or annually or in dividends or anything. Our strategy, like many other funds, is to avoid payments back to us kind of upfront, just so those can go back into the business. And then, like I mentioned before, at the 5 to 7 year term, at the end of that, we get our return from the sale of the company, sale to strategic or financial or another investor perhaps. So that's kind of the payment structure, or the apparatus of how venture works is, we invest to get on the cap table, and then, we help grow the company and then sell. I think that's probably the most, selling to a strategic acquirer is probably the most common exit that we might see in venture. So the types of businesses this is suited for is those who have a growth opportunity in front of them that they might not be able to achieve. It might take them 10 years to achieve the same outcome that venture funding might be able to achieve. So investing $1 million now is better than, you might earn $1 million over, or whatever it might be, over a longer period of time. So Q venture funding, that's where we come in. So those high growth, scalable businesses, venture tends to lean towards tech companies because that's easier. You can build one piece of software and then sell that over and over and over. That said, we have businesses who don't fall in that category and might fall more into the volume category, where you want to sell more and more of something, like in apparel. So those businesses, again, we focus more on working capital than it would be for R&D or product development, whatever it might be there. So in terms of similar to Jody's team, when we look at investments, the people on the team really matter. The market really matters that they're trying to go into. So we want to see that the team knows what they're doing. They have a very focused vision and goal for themselves. And then with that, the market that they're looking to get into is a market that can support growth over time, and that we believe there's broadly just some tailwinds to support growth in that business. A big one, especially for seed stage folks, we lean more heavily on the team that they have rather than financials, because maybe there's no financials at all and there's no history to kind of look at. So we dive deeper into the team aspect. And then on the other side of that, maybe when we get more to Series A or Series B investments, we definitely look at the traction that they've had, the growth that they've had, financials, see what their working capital requirements are to grow. So a lot more of the history matters in that. So it kind of ranges depending on what area of the business, or what stage rather, that we're looking to invest in. And so, that's a little bit about the stages of venture capital. That's sometimes for those stages, like I was mentioning, the milestones and the goals are kind of different for each one of those. So for seed stage, we'll look at does the idea make sense? Do people want to buy this product? Do they have they spoken to folks who might want to purchase this? Have they talked to their customer base? Do they have an idea of what their customer base is? So having a plan for and thinking through everything and kind of having that written down in paper is super important for us at that stage, the pre-seed stage. And then going into seed stage, the milestones are a little bit different, especially when you get to A and B as well. So seed stage, it's more about you have a viable product. Maybe you built one tool or one apparatus and you've sold it and the customer liked it and there's good feedback. And then you go to seed stage and you're ready for building a wider set of that and then going to market with a full product launch per se. So the milestones will look different again at each one. And then Series A will be, have you had enough traction with that first product launch to necessitate that Series A funding? And normally each stage, the check size will get bigger. So pre-seed might be on the lower end, $250,000, $500,000 in that range. Seed stage might be a little more, and then Series A they might raise $8 million or $10 million at that point. Let me explain kind of the trade-offs of equity investments. So the first is really dilution, shared control, and board oversight. So dilution, like I mentioned up at the top, so we invest $1 million for 25% of the company. You have 25% less ownership of your company that you did before. So if to make it easy, if there's one owner, they'll have 75% ownership after that. And so when, in a future state, when you sell the business, you get 75% of those total proceeds. But if you go from pre-seed, and then you raise a seed round, and then you raise Series A, and then maybe you go to Series B, your dilution, your ownership of the company will get smaller at each stage. And there's some math and kind of mechanics in there, but I'll save you guys the math lecture today. But yeah, so you have to be mindful of that dilution effect, because once say you raise a seed through Series A, you kind of got to balance the terms or the valuation that you set your company at, because it will impact your ownership. And then, by the time you get ready to sell, if you have maybe you've lost more of your company than maybe you had planned, and sometimes that's market impacts or something completely exogenous. Sometimes it's internal, or sometimes it's traction. There's a lot of variables that you have to think about, but that's probably the big piece in comparison to term debt is equity financiers own a portion of your company. So that's one piece to think about, and then the other is shared control. So sometimes more on the private equity end, those folks will invest for ownership of a large portion of the company, or maybe a majority of the company, so 51%, and then they kind of manage it and figure out the strategic direction of the business. Or venture, normally it's kind of on the low end, and we're supporting founders in their vision and their strategic direction of where they want to go, where they want to bring a product, and support that. But with that, you do give up some control of your business. So normally venture folks will get a board seat or have shares to kind of vote in whatever direction to bring the company. In our case, we're not trying to kind of hostily take over or figure out the strategic direction of the business. We invest to support the founder's direction that they want to take the company. So, but as entrepreneurs, that's something to definitely take into account. Is you're giving up ownership of the business, some control, and with that, normally folks will institute a board, which a lot of startups, you're focusing on your business, maybe you don't have a board. Most folks like us will institute a board, normally 3-person kind of early, and then as it grows, maybe increase to 5 and whatever it might be. So normally investors will have a board seat, so like our fund will have a seat on there. Sometimes there's an observer seat, just to have a second pair of eyes on it, and that's again kind of have some strategy meetings and figure out what to do with the company. So there's aspects of venture that you have to take into consideration if you want to give up some control of your company. You have to weigh the pros and cons of that. And again, going for attracting in venture funding, it's definitely about finding the right partners. You want to find folks you want to work with. It kind of goes both ways. VCs want to find people that they want to work with. Some people are hard to work with, so you got to weigh the relationship there. And again, that's why we really like to be kind of relational and patient with our strategy. But yeah, that's a big one to weigh is the trade-offs in terms of that. And then the timeline. So sometimes we find a really great business, but we figure out they don't want to sell their business, or and that doesn't align with venture capital funding. So however great the opportunity, we couldn't go into that and not have a rough idea on what a planned exit might look like. So again, it's a very unique tool that you got to find alignment with your partners, and so that's I think a good way to frame it against term debt. Is that loss of control, or not loss of control, but the control of your company, and then that planned exit of what happens to your company. And there's plenty of times where folks don't want to, they want their company to go to their kids, or maybe not exit, or they want to keep it forever. So there's some things you got to consider there. And yeah, I see we're kind of getting up to time, and maybe I was rambling for a bit, but yeah, maybe I'll stop there for now. That's kind of what VC is, what venture capital is, what our fund is like. So yeah, happy to answer some questions if you guys have any. And yeah, happy to pass my cards around to have plenty, or chat with folks later today or in the future. So thank you.
Questions? Anyone? Okay.
Hi, good morning. So basically the end goal is, you said, to sell the business, correct, for you guys to get reimbursed? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I mean, I understand that from a business aspect, but
Mhm.
a lot of people get emotionally entrenched in their businesses also.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so, okay, good to
Mhm.
know. I would like to get your card also. I have some
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah,
Thank-
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the thing with that is definitely finding alignment, and that's kind of something we got to screen for up front is what you want to do with it. And some people are more I want to grow it and then sell my company and make some money, and then like do reinvest in their community. So that's definitely an important part of it for sure. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you. So when you're looking at but the potential for investment in a company, are you like, I guess, what's the baseline? Like, do they have to have a minimum amount of sales for you to consider them?
Yeah, it depends. I think the thing we would probably look at most is growth of the company. So obviously, if a company is growing year after year, that's a really good sign. If it's flat, we might maybe change the terms of what we enter into an agreement with the company. But yeah, best case scenario, there's year after year growth that's strong and shows some propensity for kind of a larger unlock of the business. But yeah, it depends on each stage. But for say seed stage or Series A, or a company that's been around for maybe 3 or 4 years, yeah, some traction is super important. So yeah, a lot of backwards looking data that we want to look at and see if there's a trend, and then looking forward a sales pipeline. Who's in the sales pipeline? If there's large wholesale accounts that they have traction with, they've had conversations with, some progress with, maybe they're getting close to maybe sharing a contract. That would be some good signs, just to see there's some traction for growth looking forward. But yeah, it depends. But yeah, I think some traction and trend upward is generally good. And then once we get super early, it's more on the team, more on the idea, and the conviction that the founder has in their product, and then similarly with us, the conviction we have in that product to go to market. So yeah, I think that's a good overview.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning. Hey, two-part question. So I'm thinking of Shark Tank, and their goals like to have like a 60% hit rate on success. What's kind of your hit rate? What's your goal? Like, is it 80%? And how much are you actually involved in managing, giving advice? And I'm thinking of them, what they do to really help out these young entrepreneurs.
That's a great question. So the second part, how involved are we? Most of our investment team are involved from sourcing all the way through portfolio management. So everything between from due diligence to doing the term sheets. And then once we get to the post-investment, supporting the team. So our team is very active. And then the first part on hit rate, I think overall it's probably really low. I think in terms of, I mentioned briefly at the top, we want to concentrate a portfolio, and our average check size to kind of be in that like 1 to 2 range maybe. So it just means we can't invest, every check at $250,000, or else we're going to have, however many companies, and that's way too much. So we want something more concentrated, and that's more of a portfolio kind of risk and return aspect that we want to kind of get that average check size right there. But yeah, in terms of all the companies that we source and screen every day, we're taking all of our investment team are looking for businesses to support. So I'd say the hit rate's probably low, but one thing with that is we don't just say no and push people away and say, that's kind of it. There's plenty of folks that we chat with that we kind of internally think, okay, maybe in a year's time, this company will be in a different place or a better place or more prepared for equity capital. Or maybe it's longer than that, and maybe they have a good idea. But I think that there's kind of a buffer in there where the business is, the idea and the team are attractive enough, and there might be enough growth prospects to kind of take it to that stage. So there is a buffer in terms of those who actually get selected versus people that we might kind of keep around in our orbit. Yeah, I hope that helps.
We have a question from the online audience. Joshua Robertson asks, what if the end goal is selling part of the company but not the whole company?
That's a good question. And I think that maybe buttresses up VC against private equity. So you can kind of think of risk capital overall as, in the private market, there's private equity, which normally you think of large businesses, and then venture capital is kind of a small portion on the front end for startups. So maybe that leads into, when venture capital meets private equity. So say we get to that Series A type stage or Series B, and then at that point, maybe there's a financial player or a private equity fund that's looking to acquire a business. And like I said, at times they'll look to get a large portion of the company. So say they want to buy 51% of the company, and then say the venture capitalists, maybe there's a handful of them and they own 30% at that time. And then the private equity player comes in, say ownership wants to stay around, and then that might be our exit. So I think that's still a viable pathway for us if that's the case. But if the owner wants to sell, and maybe, I guess that might get into a more maybe unique scenario. But I think that the private equity route is probably the best comparison in terms of that question and how that might play out practically. So once we get up to large enough growth and it's in the market cap space of a private equity player, they might be interested and then buy out, kind of create a liquidation event for the investors in the company. And often the management of the team will stick around for X amount of years, and then maybe the private equity folks will kind of insert somebody who has experience, bringing a company from 5 million to 500 million or whatever it might be. But yeah, I think that's normally the scenario that works out for that situation.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much to our Accessing Capital panel. Give them a round. Thank you guys. Next, we have Ed Byers, one of our consultants for the National Center, but also managing partner?
No, managing director.
Managing director of Byers Holding Group. So we're going to talk about taxes, right?
Yes.
So you can use this one.
Okay, do I get a little clicker?
Yes, right here.
Perfect, okay.
There you go.
Okay, guys, this is exciting time. Who likes taxes? Yes, we love tax, don't we? Okay, so I'm actually doing 2 presentations today. One is on setting up a business and kind of the pitfalls of setting up that business. So I've been, last few years, I've been helping companies and entities organize their businesses. And over those years, I've seen some common pitfalls and some common opportunities that we'll talk about things that you were asking questions about. One of the things that I've learned over the years is people are overpaying their taxes, especially when they have a business. I mean, it's just been amazing. So a little about me in the last couple of years. I am a consultant with the National Center now. So I help young entrepreneurs. We've been part of the tourism practice. I've been working with the business incubator groups to really help get people set up their businesses and reduce their taxes. Again, so I am not a tax CPA. So this is only advice. What you have to do is go talk to your tax CPA. And I keep saying tax CPA, and why do I mention that? You need to go, if you have a successful business, go to a tax person who's a CPA who has a PIN number. I'll keep mentioning that because you will never be audited if you go to a tax CPA with a PIN. And we're going to talk about audits as well. A little bit about me. Who's from Paradise or Oroville? Anyone from Paradise or Oroville? I'm from Paradise. I grew up in Paradise. I went to Chico State, and then I became a partner at Deloitte. I was at Deloitte for 30 years, running their healthcare practice, and also did a lot of work in financial services. And I worked with a lot of successful entrepreneurs, because part of my side work was working with sole ownership people, and I learned a lot about taxes. I got kind of inspired about taxes because of that. A little bit of fun facts about me. When I grew up, I loved weather. Who loves weather? Who's a meteorologist? Anyone here? Okay, I'm really strange. When I grew up, I used to get to high school at 7 o'clock in the morning and draw weather maps on the chalkboard. Did anyone do that? Yes, I got a lot of dates because of that. I got one date in high school. And that person was kind of like me. They loved kind of science stuff and everything else. I also liked road maps. And who else likes road maps? I love like the 60s road maps, the 40s. So we used to always have trivia questions like, okay, what was the old US highway going right here by Cal Expo? Anyone know that? Not 40, no. 40 went up through town, then up north. That was up Auburn Boulevard. Close. Begins with 9. 99. US 99 came up, Fresno to Modesto, Stockton, then up to Roseville, then up now 65. Yeah, so, yeah, that's just a fun fact. So, I've also been working with the tourism group at the National Center, and yesterday I visited 3 rancherias. Yes. And so I got to be honest, I went to Middletown Rancheria, and we got 2 representatives here. Raise your hand. We had a great lunch at their restaurant, so thank you very much. I had the bacon, lettuce, avocado, tomato, I think, black. Amazing. Who's been to Middletown Rancheria? Isn't that a wonderful place? I mean, they got the wine theme now and everything else. It's just amazing, so congratulations. I also went to Calusa yesterday, and I got a steak sandwich there at night. That was good, too. So I visited another place as well. So I don't want to mention all the places I visited. What else? Other fun facts? I think that's good enough fun facts. Let's go through our taxes. Okay, top steps you can take to lower your personal small business taxes. Raise your hand if you got some ideas, and what Middletown said, if you have a good idea, you get a free bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich. So who has some ideas? How can you lower your taxes, especially if you have a small business? Who has a small business? Raise your hand, okay. Who wants to own a small business? Excellent, okay, good, okay. And there's a reason you want to own a small business, because you can really get some good tax benefits here. Okay, Brain, who has some ideas? Yes, ma'am. You know what? Actually, there's a good benefit to hire family members, yes. Hire your family members. And why do you say that?
Well, because it gives them some business experience and real-world job experience, and also learning to work in a business environment. But also, you're putting them on payroll.
Yes. And kids don't have to pay the FICA taxes, Social Security taxes, those type of things. So good benefit there. We're going to talk about hiring your spouse, those type of things, through an LLC as well. Because think about that. You don't need to be paying any of those taxes, and they also get a bunch of deductions. Okay, you get a free bacon sandwich. That was a halfway good idea. No avocado yet. What else? And why do you say that? Yes.
She would be upset if we didn't incorporate.
Yes, yeah. And there's a bunch of reasons to incorporate. We're going to talk about it, but also your liability. Because if you own a business and you're a sole proprietor, you actually have liabilities personally. LLC is only the company liability, but you can really reduce your taxes. And I like what she said, because she did a S Corp. We're going to talk about that, because that also then reduces your taxes. What else? That was, okay, that was a BL. No T yet, so we got BL. Because I like the S Corp side of it, so that was a good one. What else? Yes, ma'am. Yes, Miss SBA?
Well, I got inspired so much by people doing their own businesses that I did start mine.
Yeah.
And of course, the first year that you go into business, it can be very expensive as a sole proprietor. So that reduces your personal taxable income by the expenses that you spend on your business. Of course, if it is unprofitable long enough, it's just a hobby that doesn't count anymore. But for a while, that thing that you got into can help reduce your personal.
Yes. So I say if you're like getting toward retirement or you retire and you got an annual income, those first 3 to 4 years you have a loss. It could be a very significant loss like you're talking about, and it reduces your income tax quite significantly. Quite significantly. So we're going to talk about that. That was a whole sandwich. That was a whole sandwich. Now who wants some dessert? Who else out there? Anyone else? Okay, let's go through these. I got my things up here, then we'll walk through them. Top steps to lower your business taxes. Set up your LLC correctly. We talked about that because a lot of people set it up incorrectly when they first started. And what's probably, if you were going to guess something, there's 3 different things you can set it up. Is the subchapter S, the C, or partnership. What's probably the incorrect one? No, just what's incorrect, if you'd made a mistake. If you could guess. Yes, sir.
I think it would be on how much you're making and how much you're trying to save on taxes is how you qualify.
Okay, good. That would be good. Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, we'll walk through that. Very simple things is to document and track all your expenses. So in the last 6 months, I've helped about 20 different entrepreneurs. No one has been taking all their expenses. No one has been tracking all their expenses. No one has a simple little tool to track all their expenses. So I have 6 different little small LLCs. I work with my son, so we get all these different things out there. I spend 5 minutes a week, Excel spreadsheet, plus I also have QuickBooks to do all my expenses. Very simple. And why do you want to track all your expenses? Why do you want to document all your expenses? Write off deductions. And it's going to be a simple thing that we're going to learn. If you document your expense, you can deduct it. You can deduct 99.9% chance. But if you don't document, you don't track it, you can't expense it. So you got to start with that. And then work with your tax CPA to question your expenses. So I do everything. I go to my trip to, go to Europe. I document that in there. And I go through at the end of the year, hey, can I deduct that? Was there a business purpose for my trip to Europe? Maybe. That portion could be deductible. But we got to track it first. Actually, my trip to Europe was not deductible. I tried it, but yeah, I tried. Know and maximize all Schedule C. What's Schedule C for people out there? Schedule C? If you have a small business, you need to know Schedule C, right, Ms. SBA? Yes. So that Schedule C is a profit loss on a business. There's Schedule A, which is your itemized deductions. Schedule B is all your dividends and interest income. And then Schedule C is a profit and loss from a business. Look at that Schedule C and look at all the items on there. That's the first thing I did for the last 6 months, helping 20 different businesses. Hey, here's all the 20 different categories of expenses. Are you taking all these? Oh, I don't even know what half these mean. Well, let's go through them. And you can start tracking them. Maximize the home office deduction, which is the Form 8829. And again, the old days, you had to know all these forms. Now it's all automated. So simple. Very simple. Who has a home office? Who's deducting that? How big's your home office? How big's your home office?
It's like 20% of the house, right? It's like 40, 50 feet. But if you see the movie...
Oh, look, there she goes. The accountant. You're going to say the accountant.
Yeah, the person tells, the client tells the accountant, it's like, how big's your office?
Yeah, no, but it's 10 square feet, like 10 square feet, like, and she goes 80, and it's like, 200? 800? Yes. That's it. Look at the accountant. That's a good one. In fact, the accountant 2 is coming out. Yes. Yes. But again, the old days it was very difficult. We're going to look at some common mistakes because people still make common mistakes on all these things. Leverage is Section 179 deduction. And who's taking the Section 179? That's your farm equipment. Yeah, so I'm driving farm equipment outside when I drive around. I got a tractor. My SUV is a tractor because it's considered farm equipment. It weighs over 6,000 pounds. So you can take that. You can take a capital asset deduction, expense the entire amount the year of purchase. Know the IRS audit criteria and when to leverage an expert. Big mistake is the hobby versus business income rule, and we're going to have some examples. We got some people who actually set up a business to go gaming. And who could actually set up a business to go gaming? Who does sports betting? Everyone, who does sports betting here? People are afraid to mention that. It's a 10% loss immediately. Nothing of that. Okay, that's okay. That's good. Leverage techniques which are set up by politicians and the rich and famous. Who does that? We don't know. We'll talk about it. And leverage the corporate tax rate of 21%. So, and I do the 21% of the corporate tax rate. We'll walk through that, why you want to do that. Okay. Oh, this is all, we do a lot of work with tribal on reservations, those type of things, and there are some considerations. So we've been working with the Navajo Nation, Wallapai, and they're setting up businesses on reservation land. And there you actually have these considerations here. Because you got to go through the tax simplifications, the ownership. You're not going to be owning the land on a reservation, so you got to consider all these type of things. I don't think we have that case here at all in most of California because it's rancherias. But if you did, that'd be a consideration. Set up your business correctly. Key thing. There's different business structures. And it's so simple. Who set up their business? Who went in there? Who went to the, I'm in Arizona now, so I do the Arizona Department of Revenue. I do the Arizona Corporation. You go out there and you just fill out a little teeny 10-second form. You check a box. How do you want to be set up? You want to be set up a C or an S or a partnership? Who thought about that?
Well, here it's Secretary of State.
Yeah, you Secretary of State, yeah. Yeah, but you just go through, you just check a box. Big mistakes. Big mistakes people beat. Common mistake is they immediately, okay, I'm going to go into business with Larry, and hey, Larry, let's do a partnership. Mistake. Mistake. Why is that? If you do a partnership, you got to file a K-1. You can't deduct all your expenses very easily. All the tax people love you because they got to do all the extra tax filings. All of a sudden, your tax bill goes to $2,500 versus $400 because you're doing all the incremental stuff. And if there's a really good reason to do a partnership, it may make sense. But if you're working with the family, it probably doesn't make sense because you can have some legal documents and not go through all these extra tax things. So I always say start with a C and then go to an S corp because you're at the S corp level. And why would you go to an S corp level? Because you're starting to make money. And when you're starting to make money in the business, and typically they say the threshold is $50,000. If you start making $50,000, you want to go to an S corp and then take money out as dividend incomes, those type of things. Reduces your taxes. Have an S corp, you got to be having a salary or an income. And typically the minimum threshold is $50,000 for that. Okay, most businesses should be set up as an LLC. Don't select C if you are a single owner or a family-owned business. If you go in business with your spouse, don't form a partnership. As you just think of that's just a lot of excess work. Big headache. And technically you could do the will, trust, those type of things to put any type of things in there. Consider changing to an S corp from a C corp to save on employment tax. I think people understand that. And of course, no one's going to ever form a corporation unless you're a big business. So those are the big companies, IBMs, they got all kind of extra filings. Key here, set up an LLC. I think most people probably have an LLC. Consider changing to an S Corp when you start making money. And only form a partnership if you really need legally to do that. Hey, two people going into business, two different families, they need maybe to form a partnership from a legal perspective. So there's always considerations. Get advice on that. Here's a key one. Oh, it actually is key. I always say IRS forms. People get all like, oh God, IRS forms are so complicated. They're actually not very complicated. It's actually just really one long form. If you had like a big wall, it's just one form. That's all it is. So you got your 1040, right? Everyone does a 1040, I'm hoping. Otherwise you're behind on your taxes, that's not good. Then you have your Schedule A, who takes itemized deductions? A lot of people take itemized deductions, right? Yeah. Mortgage, those type of things, you take that. You got your dividend interest income, that automatically fills in your Wells Fargo interest or whatever else. That goes on the Schedule B. Schedule C is profit and loss from an individually owned business. And then you got the Form 8829, the home office deduction, feeds into Schedule C. And the 4562 also feeds into the Schedule C. It's just one long form. Now all you do is you go online. Who uses TurboTax? It's very easy, isn't it? It does your 8829, does the 4560, it does everything for you. I do my son's return. I do about 20 returns a year, helping family members, those type of things. I got them set up on businesses. It takes 25, 30 minutes. That's all. Okay? You know, they track their expenses. They got their mileage down, those type of things. The big one, I think what you said at the start, and she got the whole bacon, lettuce, tomatoes sandwich, losses from Schedule C can offset your gains on the 1040. Okay, so take, for example, you start a business and your business loses $70,000. Which is not uncommon, actually. That's not uncommon. Home office deduction, your big home office, everything else. You lose $70,000. You had income of $100,000 from your 1040. Your income is only $30,000. Instead of paying 22% tax, you're only paying 10% on $30,000. And we'll give a couple examples. I got a hairdresser example coming up. Really good story. Old days, you filed all these forms. Remember, you get all the forms as old people. Get this whole thing, you send it all in. Now it's all online. Very simple. Document and track all expenses. I'm going to the bottom part. Bottom statement first. No need to make up expenses. You always hear about these stories, people making up expenses. There's no need to make up expenses. Just document everything. I'm going to start with that statement. Okay. Standard protocol, if documented and receipts are available, you can expense it. That's this common starting point for expenses. If documented, that means you documented it in QuickBooks or your Excel spreadsheet, and there's a receipt, you can probably expense it, or you can consider it for expensing purposes. But if you haven't documented it, if you haven't tracked it, you can't expense it. Leverage a software tool to track all company card expenses. Who has a company card so they can track all their expenses? It's SBA. You must have a company. You don't have a company card?
But I track everything because I know it's
Okay. Okay, yes. So I have both. I have the company cards that feeds into QuickBooks. Then you can push a little button. Then I have an Excel spreadsheet to do like the mileage, those type of things. So you can have both. So always get a little company card, especially when your business really gets rolling. When you don't have that many expenses, it's much easier to do a quick Excel spreadsheet, not that hard. My simple approach, update an Excel spreadsheet on a weekly basis takes 5 minutes. Columns are set up for mileage, hotels, meals, parking, car rentals, airlines, incidentals. Most people forget incidentals. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I had a question regarding your mileage. Are you calculating your mileage by federal rates or state rates?
IRS rates.
IRS rates.
Yes. So the IRS rates are now 70 cents a mile this year. It was 0.675 last year. And we're going to have a story about the mileage thing. Good question. Because most people aren't tracking their mileage correctly. In some cases, not even tracking at all. So we got some good stories. Update, and we got that. The column showed up. Business entertainment, office business supplies. People forget their office supplies. Pens, pencils. So everything I go to, Staples for or Walgreens, I expense all those things. Legal, everything. Credit card receipts are fine. You don't need to have a receipt for everything. A credit card receipt is a receipt. Most companies, IRS allows that. You'll hear people on TV, you got to have a receipt. No, you don't. Credit card receipts are fine. Okay, let's go next one. Know all your Schedule C deductions. Okay. Schedule C is profits and loss from owning a business. Mileage, initiate tracking from your home office. And where's your home office? It is that 800 square foot office that she has set up in her 800 square foot home. So, so she's taking 100% of the household expenses. I don't think you are. You're probably 25% or so. That's common. 70 cents per mile. So I want to do the hairdresser example. So I'm talking to so I'm helping people all the time. And it was a year and a half ago. I said, hey, Miss Hairdresser. I said, you have an LLC, don't you? She goes, oh, yeah, I have an LLC. I said, how much are you paying in taxes? Like $25,000. I go, hairdresser paying $25,000? I can't believe it. So I said, can I look at your taxes? And so she gets, she did her taxes like in 5 minutes herself. I said, you have an LLC? Where's your mileage? Where's all your things? Well, do you have a home office? No. Well, aren't you, doing everything from your home office as well? Yes. And okay, so her mileage example, so she actually was a contractor most people are at a hairdressing place, beauty salons, I guess, but for men. So what's that called? Hair salon? Men's salon? Not a beauty salon. Men don't go to beauty salons. But okay, so it's 30 miles each way. 30 miles each way, and she went 5 days a week. How many miles is that? So at 60 miles, that's 300 miles a week, and she averaged 50. 15,000, going to be this year, 70 cents, 10,500. Okay. So that's 10, reducing your income by $10,500. Home office. I said, you have a home. She actually did have a home office because she actually had a little chair, and she actually had clients that came in and got haircuts. So she actually had a real home office. And so we got another about $14,000 in deduction there. Then we went through her supplies. She was only deducting portions of her supplies. So we got $33,000 in supply expenses, which was actually the actual expenses for everything. She's only taking a portion of it. Then you walk through all these things. She had advertising. She went to, once a year she would go to a conference for beauticians or whatever. That, they all get together. I think they go to Vegas once a year. She wasn't deducting that. Those are all deductible. So instead of having an income of $120,000, lesser little things, we got it down to $10,000. Her real income. And that's really what her real income was, because you own your own self. You got your own LLC, you got mileage, you got all these expenses, you got your home office. Those are all actual expenses. So very important that you track all these things. Travel, hotel, car rental, airline, airport parking, mileage to and from the airport, incidentals. Many people forget mileage to and from the airport. Okay, if you go to the airport, that's part of your business, right? You gotta remember that. Parking and tips, you know, give a bellman $5, make sure you expense that. Business travel is always combined with a vacation. So what's that mean? What's that? You get to write off most of it. Okay, so take for example, which I do, I'm going to go to Vegas and I'm going to a conference. Okay, I go up there. Or I'm actually going to go on pleasure. So one of my subcontractors I use is in Las Vegas. So I get staff. I don't have any employees. I have a bunch of contractors that I leverage. And some of them are through subcontracting firms. So once or twice a year, I go visit my he's a senior manager at Deloitte. Now he owns his own business in Las Vegas. So when I go to Las Vegas, I make sure I stop by and see him. We have lunch, talk about business. What can I expense now? The airline ticket, I can expense, it's part of I can only do part of it. If I go to Vegas for 3 days, I won't expense 3 days of parking. I'll expense 1 day, but I'll expense the entire flight. So think about that. The entire flight, that's a lot of the expense, right? So I get to expense a large portion of that. So always combine a business purpose with the vacation purposes. And you had a question?
I do have a question. Let's say that you went back to school to get special certificate for your business. Is that a tax deduction?
Everything's a tax deduction, yes. Most definitely. Yeah, so all your LLCs, your legal expenses, all those type of things are deductible. So you also have, when you got your California corporate fee, $800 a year, it's $65 in California, those are all tax deductible. And most people aren't deducting those things. But in California, $800 a year. I mean, it could be more now. It was $800. Okay? Combined with it, meals IRS rule. How much can you expense for a business meal? What's the amount? What's that? Okay, so the rule is meals are fully deductible. Meals cannot be lavish and extravagant. Okay, so quick question, Miss SBA, what's lavish and extravagant?
I don't look at them in that much detail, but I mean, it's just like, $50 is fine, $100 is fine. What is lavish and extravagant? Like getting a $800 bottle at a club or something? But
Okay, so
even that could be just a fully expensed thing.
exactly is how you define it, how your company business defines it. So if you work for, who works for Merrill Lynch? I'm just thinking Merrill Lynch. They're taking a big dog client out, $800 may be fine. So whatever the company policy is. So my company, I have my little Excel spreadsheet, I have some company policies, and I think kind of reasonable is $250 per person. So if I take, Tim out in Las Vegas and it's $560, I only expense 500 of it, because that's my policy, and that sounds about right. Right? It sounds right. It's not, I think an $800 bottle of wine to take Tim out with would be, first of all, I wouldn't want to do that. It's just a big expense. But, going out $560, if he's giving me 10 contractors, he's actually buying me, he's expensing it. He's buying me lunch, actually buying me dinner. So I'm making him the money. So I just have it on my little teeny spreadsheet there. My policies are a couple policies I have. One of them is $250 per person. Track all monthly subscriptions. I got GoDaddy magazine subscriptions. You get all those little things you get purchased online, the Microsoft, Intuit. I belong to the American Indian Chamber of Commerce in Arizona and in California. Those are all deductible, like you're talking about certificates or those type of things. Okay, office expenses, typical expenses includes furniture, cleaning supplies, office cleaners. Who has office cleaners at their home office? Yeah, look, I do. Right? So I get, I'm getting old now, so I gotta hire someone to come do my cleaning once every 2 weeks. That portion of, which is mine 16.9% of that biweekly service, I get to expense. Right? That's an office cleaner. They're cleaning my office. I get to deduct that. Remember all those small, it adds up. It actually does. Okay. Remember, if you really track expenses, you never really need to make everything up. Maximize the home office deduction, and I've highlighted something in yellow. We'll get to that because that's the most important thing. Home office deductions are very easy to take. You just fill out a small little thing in TurboTax. Set up an office in a spare bedroom, family room, living room. Is yours in your family room? Dining room. Yes, dining room is common. Dining, yeah. So mine's 605 square feet, which is kind of my living room area, which I have set up for my office. And I have got my everything set up in there, my little TV, so I can watch sports and everything else. So it's very nice. So, year end, summarize all your expenses, mortgage, interest, insurance, utility. You get all these things up. How much is that if you think about it? What's your PG&E bills and stuff? It's expensive. That's probably going to be, for a typical home, it's nice, it's like a common home here in Sacramento. That could be 30 to 40,000, right? I mean, it adds up fast. And you're deducting 16% of it, that's $6,000, $7,000 deductions.
Quick question for you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So
you got me that voice.
Yes. What about rent? Like, say I rent an apartment, but my business is still out of my apartment. Can that be deducted as well?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Most definitely. 'Cause instead of having home interest, mortgage, those type of things, it's just your rent income. Most definitely. That's actually really good questions. I got to put that up there because that's the first time anyone asked that. But that's almost like renting an office someplace. So very similar. Okay, year end, summarize all your mortgage interest, insurance, utilities, repairs. Don't forget repairs, house cleaners, maintenance, and new large expenses. Why did I put down new large expenses? Yeah. No, that's different. We'll come up to that. That's section 179. Good, getting ahead. New air conditioning. My air conditioning went out. I have 2 units. Arizona, you got to have a unit per every little closet. How much is 2 units of air conditioning now? I got a deal. Mine 21,000. I negotiated, and it wasn't prime time. Yeah, what actually, well, you know what, I did it in, mine were getting old, so I said, okay, November 1st, I'm gonna do it, and they were looking for business, because everyone does it in May and June, July, and I said, okay, mine was kind of breaking down, I knew it, let's do it. It was 21,000. So I get to deduct 16.9%, which is my home office, as an expense that year. Well, what's 16.9 times 21,000? That's almost $4,000 that I'm deducting. Okay, all expensable. Per the IRS, home offices includes anything the house, apartment, there it is, the apartment's up there, condominium, mobile home, boat, or similar property. These are all just from the IRS website. It's not making this up, it's right from their website. You could even have a greenhouse. If you have a nursery, you could have a greenhouse, right? So, percent of your home office compared to your total, percent of your office is compared to the total home office. So mine's 15.9. IRS alert, I got a little alert there. IRS may, very, very slim chance, request a picture of your home office. So typically, if you go through an IRS audit, and so my neighbor, back, 'cause I used to live in California, remember, so my neighbor was an IRS lawyer. So I always would talk to him, like, what's your good stories going on, those type of things. So he would actually say, okay, every now and then, it's a documentation audit. That's your typical audit, it's a documentation audit, not someone coming and knocking on your door. You could have that. And they'll request a picture of your home office. Very, very slim chance. So I have a picture of my home office already all set up to go, but they're not gonna audit me. I don't make enough money. When asked the percentage of your home office used for your business, it's always 100%. Just select 100%. Some people make that mistake. I'm working with people. Again, last 6 months, I worked with 20 different entrepreneurs. They're putting down 20%. I'm only in there 20%. The rest of the time, I'm out working in the field. No, that's your home office. That's 100% of your home office. Of course you're working in the field. That's your job, to serve clients or construction, those type of things. You got to be out there. But the home office is still your home office. Multiple family members can use different rooms in a home. So your spouse could have a home office, you can have a home office. And why is that applicable? So take, for example, you hire your spouse to be your accounting or bookkeeper, and they have their own LLC. So you pay them, I'll make it up, $40,000. They can then do all the business expenses like this and bring their income down to zero. See what you can do. So there's all kind of opportunities to do these things. The good news, these are great business opportunities. You're working together, and you're getting all these deductions. Maybe it's good working together. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out. Okay, next. Leverage a Section 179 deduction. Okay, so 179 allows a business to deduct the full purchase price of capital assets. So capital assets includes cars, equipment, furniture, software, those type of things. So all assets purchased must be purchased in the company name, credit card, or company account. So what that means, so my company is Buyers Holding Group. My SUV is owned by, the title says, Buyers Holding Group. You got to purchase it that way. Then you can expense that entire capital asset that year. And the IRS may come back to you using it's 100%, those type of things. I've never seen that happen. We're going to go through the audit thing, but they could come back. And the tax CPA will say, hey, let's deduct it, and then let's see what happens. If they come back, you can then always make some modifications. Consider leveraging a tax CPA, which I do, to ensure rules are followed. And I keep mentioning, and most likely you're going to have a bigger chance of being audited. This is a great deduction to consider if you open a small business after retiring, like me, because then you can reduce your income with that capital asset depreciation or deduction. A reminder, Form 4562 feeds into Schedule C, which is your profit and loss from a business, which then feeds into your 1040. No, Section 179 is limited to a $1.1 million. No, I took the entire amount, worked with my tax CPA. Yes. They could question you on those things. You're raising up a tax CPA. I asked them that question. So we deducted the entire amount. The thing is, you're supposed to then keep that asset on your books for 5 years after that. So I actually still have that asset from 2020 when I took that. So we had a carry forward showing that we still have the asset, that we didn't have to take back of that. Actually, one was like a income stream back. Good question, though. There's always a good answer to it. Because you have to take it over like a 5-year period to show that. No, the IRS audit criteria, people get all worried here. IRS only audits about 1 in 1,000 returns. So the official wording, whoever listens to the IRS commissioner on C-SPAN, I mean, people probably just You guys don't listen to the C-SPAN with the senators are grilling the IRS commissioner? That's like really exciting. Like, who are you auditing? You know, all these people yelling at the poor guy. I feel sorry for him. Poor lady, whatever. Like, oh, we only do, less than, 100 or whatever. Like, what do you mean you audit that many people? You're only auditing poor people. We know what you're doing. No, so it's really exciting. Your chances are much less than 1 in 1,000. Why is that? Because if you have a nice business going, you're going to use a tax CPA, and they're not going to audit a tax CPA. Why do they want to audit a tax CPA? They don't want to audit a tax CPA because a tax CPA, certified public accountant, has already verified the numbers. That's their job. If they haven't verified the numbers, looked at my Excel spreadsheet, looked at all my company records, they could actually lose their license. So they know most likely it's directionally correct. They know that because he's a certified public accountant with a tax pin, with the IRS. Wouldn't they rather audit someone else who's using, Joe Schmo from El Camino Boulevard here? Yes, they'd probably want to audit that person versus my tax CPA. Most audits are handled solely by mail. You get the IRS. Who gets the IRS letters? Big envelope, they get that. Some of my clients have, the people I've worked with. Oh, they've asked for a documentation. How did I get so many miles or something? So you get most of those, and then you got to show something. Increased audits won't definitely happen overnight, especially now. So as you probably have heard via C-SPAN, as you guys are watching that, like 30% of the revenue agents who do the audits have actually retired this year. Most of the IRS agents are, significantly older people, and they've all retired under the new administration. 30% of them are gone this year. So they're not going to be auditing you anytime soon. Audits are a lengthy process and cost the IRS real money. Think of, you're not going to audit anyone who make $20,000. What's going to be their return? Oh, we're going to make $100. Oh, that's exciting. It will cost them $10,000 to do that. They want to audit someone making really money. Most audits are triggered by overzealous taxpayers who are making things up. For example, $250,000 in mileage, and you own a small studio or something. Now, if you own a trucking company, maybe that's applicable, but not if you own a small studio or something. Steps to avoid an audit. So you always have this thing, report an income periodically. Some people are like, oh, I got to report an income every 3 to 4 years. I won't be audited then. So some small business still do that. They report a positive income every few years. Have a tax CPA, that makes sense. Note the IRS hardly audits any returns under $1 million filed by tax CPA, and we already went through that. And that was actually on C-SPAN. I was listening to people. We don't audit them because it's not a return on investment. They got a tax CPA. Don't take Schedule C deduction expenses that are overzealous. Creates a documentation audit. So just getting too many different things in there. Don't take excessive charitable deductions. A lot of people will just make up charitable. Oh, I went to Goodwill and I gave $100,000. They're going to probably ask you for that. So when I moved to Arizona, I actually gave most of my furniture in my house to the church. So I actually had a bigger one, but I took a picture of almost the entire house of all the furniture I gave, because that was my documentation audit. And it was kind of a used, kind of a junk pricing I put in, but it was still more, because usually my charitable deductions aren't that much. So I had like a 400% incremental that 1 year. So I wanted to actually take pictures of it. I took pictures of everything. I put it in my little tax folder, and I have that in case I ever get audited. But it still was small from an IRS perspective. Don't take excessive 179 expenses without a tax CPA. Example hotline, okay. So I was hearing someone was probably fraudulently taking some money from a business, and it was like $1 million. And so I was talking to my tax lawyer, and I go, God, I think this person's taking some money. What should I do? He goes, you got to call the, something happens, here on TV, someone, hey, they caught this person, and Ed Byers was a conspirator. He knew about it and didn't do it. No, I said, I got to call. He said, call the hotline. So I called the hotline. I go, well, I think some person is, probably taking about $1 million not deducting it. I just want to report it. They go, how much? I said $1 million. Oh, why are you wasting our time? We don't do anything under $2 million. I go, you don't even want the person's name or anything? No, we'll take your name and put you down in case anything ever happens. Okay, click. But it kind of made, like $2 million. That's kind of their threshold. They think about that. They don't have time. They don't have enough agents. So only got to deal with the bigger cases. And everyone thinks, okay, they're going to come after me. I make $25,000. No, they're not going to come after you. $25,000. You got to be realistic. Know the IRS hobby versus business income rule. Who knows the hobby lobby rule? Who knows that? Okay. So if it's either, you mentioned the hobby thing. Okay, the hobby versus business. The key consideration for the IRS is that a business operates to make a profit. A business operates to make a profit. It doesn't have to make a profit. It operates to make a profit. While hobbies are a pleasure or recreation. Old IRS myth, which was a myth, if it's a hobby, if you lose money 3 straight years. That's not true. You are operating a business if you conduct your activity in a business-like manner, such as keeping complete books, you got records, developing a business plan. About sports betting, right? So I'm talking to my buddy, and he goes, oh, I'm tax court. I just lost a case. And it's a person who actually had won big money in Vegas. They had set up a business to go gaming in Vegas. They were going once a month. So what do you have to do? Set up a business plan. They had a business plan to make money. They tracked all their expenses. And every year they lost money. It was actually big money because this person had lots of money. And they go, that's not a business, that's a hobby. And they lost because the individual had all those things. A business plan, they had made money in the past, they had all the records, those type of things. And that individual's goal, the intent was to make money. Right? It was. You do sports betting, is your goal to lose money? No, it's not. So your intent is to make money. So that's just an example. To me that's not quite right. That's bending the rules. That's not a business. That's just me, but the court found it otherwise. These are leverage techniques which were set up by politicians and the rich and famous. And I think a lot of us do that. We hire our kids to save on the FICA taxes. We tax at the corporate rate, which is going to be the next slide. We enhance your organizational structure by changing from an LLC to an S Corp after you start making about $50,000 to $70,000. You hire contractors who have their own LLC. We already walked that, where your spouse has their own LLC, so you can then reduce your income even further. Secondary home office deductions. You fund a retirement plan because you can deduct up like $60,000 per year on that to your IRA contributions. Set up a healthcare savings account. That's if you're taking the high deductible type plans. That's a very significant deduction. And you can take all your travel expenses. Leverage a corporate tax rate. Who does that? No one today, but after tomorrow you will be. Okay, no. Okay, so what happens when the profit and loss from a business? It passes from your Schedule C to what? The 1040 as income, right? Well, what happens if you file a corporate return and take some income at the corporate level? What's the tax rate at corporate level? 21%. I gotta look it up this year, 21%. So if you have excess income which you're not gonna use, file a corporate return, pay 21%, keep the money in the company, and have travel expenses, et cetera, coming there, they can use personally. So you actually reduce it, especially if you're making some good money. California, what could you be paying in taxes here? 50% if you have a really successful business, right? 50%. 37% corporate, 13% state, plus the 3 all these things add up. So really consider the corporate tax rate, which is significantly lower in higher tax rate states. Retained earnings can be leveraged, pay off debt, all kinds of things. Of course, when leveraging these techniques, never pass through the cash to your personal account. You got to be paying the expense directly from the corporate company, the corporate entity. And discuss strategies and techniques with the tax CPA. You hear this all the time, people talking about they're doing this. Great approach when you pay personal tax rates of 37% plus, and it could be 50% or more if you live in California. Okay. Good information. So if you have any questions, my job is to help entrepreneurs to have questions about their businesses and reduce their taxes and help them with accounting. I'm going to be doing a presentation later today on setting up your business and then leveraging these techniques. I always like to do taxes first because taxes like, okay, now I can set up my business. I can have all these deductions. You can have all these. I just helped my nephew set up his LLC, and he made some mistakes. I had to help him. We're going to go through his mistakes he made. But last year he made income. So he used to be a golf pro up here in Willows. Who knows where Willows? Way up there in Willows. I mean, you don't make that much as a golf pro in Willows, let's be honest. But I think he was making about $55,000 in Willows. And so it was okay income. So and he started his own pool business, cleaning pools. He was kind of a mechanic, so he could actually repair things. So he made about $65,000 on that. He then got to do all the mileage expense, home office deduction, everything else. He had income of minus $4,000. Minus $4,000. His wife worked in Chico. She made also about $55,000. So instead of having income of $55,000, they had income of $51,000. After their standard reductions, they had income of about $3,000. So they paid taxes on $3,000, which was $300. So it saved him a lot of money. And now he's actually growing the business. He made a big mistake. What did he do? He set up his company in the name, so he's Native American. He set it up as Native Pools. I say, you start with Native Pools. Oh, you got to be something like Buyers Holding Group so you can expand your business. If you say Native Pools, you can't expand to other things, right? So that was a comment. I said, you got to change your name. So that was any questions on taxes. Hopefully you got some good lessons learned. You can start your business, work with the SBA to start your business, and then make all these great saving opportunities.
Ed, I do have a question about the last thing you just said about how they filed the business and how that limited what else he could do. And my question was about the original business name and how many businesses you could umbrella under that with the DBA.
Oh, yeah, okay. We're going to go through that in our next thing for steps doing a business. So take, for example, you do Native Pools Incorporated. But now you're going to go into car mechanics business as well on the side. So in that case, if you're doing that business in the car thing, you're going to have to name it Native Pools Incorporated, unless you then file a DBA. And DBAs are doing business as. So that's just some incremental work, incremental activities. We'll walk through that at 2 o'clock. That's coming up. But that's a good question. I can't do everything right now because Kai is already yelling at me because his time limits and I know his lunch is coming up. She usually has a slide. She goes, 5 minutes, get off. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
You said something earlier about when you were talking about LLCs. Why did you say don't set up a partnership with your spouse? Is that what you
No, yeah, okay. So you don't need to have a partnership typically with your spouse, because a partnership, you gotta do different tax filing returns, and you also can't take all the Schedule C deductions as easily.
Okay.
So with your spouse, just do a LLC, and then have some legal documents, which talks about revenue sharing, those type of things. So I wouldn't set up as a partnership, because that requires all these additional tax requirements.
Okay. And then a side question, my son is an employee, he's required to use his own vehicle, he's an electrician, but an employee, not a contractor. Does his company owe him 70 cents a mile for every time he has to use his own car?
So your son is an employee at a entity, or?
Electrical company, yeah.
Okay, so he's not allowed to take because he gets paid through them for
But
his
they-
mileage expense.
They are not paying him, so by law, they need to pay him?
Well, that's a good question. That's what, yeah, now she's yelling at me. You know, talk to your tax person about that, because you would be able to deduct it. I don't know the legal tax things on that one.
Okay.
But most definitely, because you're going to be having, I mean, I'm surprised they aren't paying him for that. Yes. I won't go into that part of it, but that's not right.
Like, we pay for our drivers gas, they have a gas card, so.
Yeah.
Their wear and tear on their vehicle, that's why they have to. Yes, I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
He did that. It was a separate schedule.
Yes.
He had, sorry. Yeah, he had a separate schedule for claiming the expense on his own car and the mileage.
Right.
I can't remember, I just looked it up because I thought it was a number.
And that's very unique. That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
There has to be a way to do that, but yeah.
Yeah, it was unfortunate he didn't qualify because he had this big additional expense of his own.
Right.
That he had to utilize, so it was not a good situation, but I can't remember what the schedule was.
There is I know there's something, you gotta talk to your tax person about that.
Yeah.
I don't like that setup, though. That shouldn't be set up that way. It's not illegal, by the way, but it's,
This kid worked for like Pepsi or Coke, and he had to drive around to all the different stores.
right.
And he had to keep track of his own mileage, he paid for his own gas, wear and tear, everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But usually you submit like a time and expense form back to Pepsi in that case.
Yeah, but this particular instance, he had to file this separate schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'd be good to look that up. There should be a way of doing that. I don't like that approach. I should be going through the business.
No, it was awful. I made him, he couldn't qualify for the loan because of this.
Yes. Because then all of a sudden you get your income going way down because of that and you can't qualify. So that's one of the things about having a business. You take all these deductions and you only make minus $4,000 and you want to go for a mortgage loan. Oh, how much income do you have? Oh, minus 4,000. What do you mean minus 4,000? So I had to work with my son to actually have a good income 1 year to show it. Then he had to work the next year, show the progress, so he could get a mortgage for his house. So you got to do, it's great for people who are mature like myself. They're not going for a loan per se. Right now, I'm not going for a loan, hopefully, for a long time. But if you are going for a loan, these nice breaks reduce your income down to zero. That's not that good sometimes, right, Miss SBA? No. I'm sorry to call you Miss SBA. Anything else? Good questions.
Could you reiterate what you just said, because I thought it was so important, about the advice you're giving about reducing your income for filing taxes, and the advice you're giving about having the income so you can get a loan. I thought that was really
that was
fantastic.
Yeah, that was my son. Actually, was a good example, because he went to the mortgage officer, and what's your income? Oh, minus 4,000, zero. And they go, well, you don't qualify because you can't see the income. So that year we worked to actually get his income level up at a certain level. So we actually worked. We didn't take all the deductions just to get it up there. And second year he was then showing the same progress. So he actually showed income to get the loan. He had to do that. So he had to pay taxes just to get all the things, to buy his house. He had to pay incremental taxes. I don't like that thing either, but that's the law. So you gotta go through that. Yes, ma'am.
What is the maximum for a home office space? Is it a certain percentage of the square footage of your home?
No, it's a reasonable amount for the home office. I'll leave it at that and think about the accountant that kept raising his head. I mean, if you have a apartment that's 300 square feet, it could be the majority of the small little apartments. Some of these apartments in San Francisco are only 300 square feet, right? So it's going to be 80% of the thing is going to be deductible from the home office. Those things you can always look up on the IRS. What is the maximum amount? But in that case, if you have a small part, 300 square feet, that would be reasonable. I always use that word reasonable. 300 square feet would be reasonable if that's 100%. Because if you actually rented a place, you go to those different business parks. So we rented a little office space for a while, which was 200 square feet. Well, if your apartment's 200 square feet, you can deduct the whole thing. Same thing. Anything else? If you have any questions, just give me a call. Always, but there's the irs.gov. Go to the IRS website and get a tax CPA. And we're going to talk more about that in our next presentation. And I think now it is lunch hour. Lunch 10 minutes. I don't get a clap?
Thank you, Ed. Slow clap. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ed. Always learn something new. We're going to break into our lunchtime. It's right outside. They're a grab and go, quick box lunch. You guys are free to take them back in here. We usually get going with our leadership panel, but we're gonna push that time a little bit back. So we're gonna meet again here at 12:15. Is it 12:15? Yes, 12:15. And so you feel free, use the restroom, grab your lunch, and then we'll also get into a drawing. So thank you to Erin. We are able to do a drawing for 3 RES tickets. And so RES is our annual conference that the National Center hosts called the Reservation Economic Summit. It is hosted in Las Vegas. It'll be for 2026. What are the dates? The 23rd to the 25th. We're just providing the RES tickets. Lodging and flight care will fall on you guys, but other than that, thank you so much for that. So feel free to go grab lunch. Yay, thank you. I'll have something up here to put business cards in. We'll do a business card drawing for the RES tickets. Thank you.
So do we have a small clip to run of Lance and Yvette's interview from Ho-Chunk? Let's run that clip.
We have divisions. Government contracting is probably our biggest division. We have a large real estate development company. We have a local division that includes manufacturing of tobacco products, farming, stores, retail, distribution. We focus our attention on profitable business relationships off reservation, and then we try to take care of our own on the reservation.
So that was from your interview with Lance, and it was pretty amazing. Just talk a little bit more. I know he had mentioned a few things about the work they do, but he directly associated some of the work they did with the National Center.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, of course, and I think started out, as he said, Ho-Chunk Inc. in his apartment.
Yeah.
Kind of like Mel McGee.
Yeah.
A one-person starting up their tribal enterprise and taking advantage of the 8A program and then building that and then creating another arm and another enterprise and another small business and then taking the tour of the community and what they've done as far as their housing. The elderly housing that we toured was incredible. their farming operation. We went out there as well. And then in town, they have a building in town with their name on top, at the very top. Toured their marketing facility there, and they have a really nice setup. Not as humble as ours here at the Native Edge.
Our setup is awesome.
Setup?
Though. It's so awesome. We don't have our name on the building.
8-10 story building.
Well, we have all those stickers.
We have a lot of stickers.
We do have a lot, and our logo is very cool.
Yeah.
I've really been impressed with an event like this, really get that messaging for Indian country.
As an organization to come together, to have an uplifting, motivational group of people, that style of topics behind it, it's incredible.
It's been really great to be here at the Native Edge Institute. It's a really great networking opportunity in Indian country, especially for businesses.
I want to bring that creativity. I just don't know where to start. And that's why I'm here today, to kind of learn a little bit more about business.
We're here today in the Duwamish Longhouse. It is in the last village site of Seattle. When people come to Seattle and they're wondering who the first people of Seattle are, we are those people. This is Seattle, and this is our home.
I became the Chief Executive Officer of 8th Generation about 2 years ago now. We're putting out anywhere from 40 to 100 new products a year, and we are the only company that we know of in Seattle that manufactures blankets. If you want a real Seattle gift, this is a place.
A lot of places you go, it's like kind of stuffy, kind of feel out of place, but nobody at any of these events has ever made me feel like that. Everybody's very, very accepting and welcoming.
Networking, sharing information, the event is the cornerstone of small businesses.
Having these types of opportunities are very important to you as a small business. I'm fairly certain that I can grow that foundation to move up and be where you want to be from here.
KeyBank formed a dedicated line of business in 2004 to serve Indian country.
It's important that understanding the tribal community can pursue business and they can be successful. So this is new information. It's really exciting. I can't wait to bring it back to my community.
Business to me is absolutely critical. We employ our people, we better society. I am a proud Indian, proud of the Duwamish, and proud to be an American here in Seattle, carrying on the legacy of our Native people.
If you are an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner or a business who wants to work with tribal nations, this is a place to do that.
The National Center has done a great job of adapting to the business environment and growing their offerings. The idea of promoting Native American small business and helping them understand what company you're looking for is a really great job. So thank you, Indian Country, for 55 years with the National Center.
We're at the fabulous South Sioux City Riverfront Marriott Hotel overlooking the beautiful Missouri River.
Working on business development, access to capital, government contracting.
To be in a room with like-minded people that all have the same goals of growing an economy, especially for Native people, it's a really special experience.
We had a packed house at this Native Edge Institute. It's really beneficial for everyone to get involved.
You had people talking about public utilities, small businesses, government contracting. In a business sense, you're going to have to go to 3 or 4 or 5 different offices in order to get all that information. It's really nice to be able to take advantage to meet everyone and get to reach out to those people later.
There's goals that the U.S. government has that each agency has to prove that they've contracted not just with big business, but with small business. The U.S. government is the largest procurer of goods and services in the world. The 8A has been instrumental in Ho-Chunk Inc. being able to grow in government contracting.
8A programming is certainly an extension of tribal self-determination as well as promotes tribal sovereignty. So we meet people where they are to provide them the information that they need to know so that they can become successful in their tribal businesses.
The National Center, they were an integral part of us getting started. It's important to show up and represent, to show what can be done so that they can visualize themselves to where we're at on the government contracting side and some of the business development.
Take me down to the river where the peace won't run dry.
I think coming from a small town, you get stuck in the mindset of, oh no, I can't do that, or I've never seen anyone else from my community do that. But in actuality, there are people in my hometown and my community that have been doing things, and it's just maybe I haven't learned about it or I haven't been exposed to any of that. So it's been nice to be part of the National Center and seeing what they're capable of.
The Iowa Tribe of Kansas and Nebraska, our economic development strategy has shifted to a more regenerative model to be truer to the ancestral ties of our economy. We are really investing heavily in indigenous to indigenous trade to be a little bit more true to our ancestral roots.
This is my first event like this. I'm just trying to grow all native solutions because I can see it could be bigger than what it is.
The work that we're doing at Grace Now has been about how do we learn from other tribes and really support that mission of intertribal trade, intertribal relationships.
I appreciate what you guys do. Having somebody to celebrate Native business and create a cooperative relationship and to share has been invaluable.
When you are unified and you're coming together and you're sharing information, even the mistakes that you made along the way, then you're learning and you're going to move forward and progress. The rainbow is always at the end of that storm. We mean business. We want to get out there and work with the small business owners and tribal enterprises and other minorities.
We've been doing business since time immemorial. Many of the highways people travel on every day are original trade routes of our people. We have to continue to fight for those things that we were given in regards to being indigenous people of this continent, to be able to maintain and grow in business.
Sovereignty is something that's always been with the Native people. They've been defending it from the beginning. Doing business with the U.S. government shouldn't impinge on that sovereignty. It's just a market. What we try to do is inform and educate about the opportunities within government contracting and how to take advantage of those opportunities, how to pursue that customer.
Once they realize that we're here to help them, that I think is the big draw for them. That I'm not having to go through this by myself. I have somebody that can help me get there. Sometimes just knowing you're not alone as a small business owner, that is the key.
Well, I'm pretty familiar with the National Center. We've been attending the Reservation Economics Summit for the past 4 years. We've been able to network with people and get their stuff and put them in our store. It's cool to be able to have Native brands through a Native store, and I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that.
When you have more wealth, then you're able to give back to others. And I think that's something that I've seen with our small businesses.
I could see the need of our community. I had a dream and a vision. I wanted to start my own charity foundation. We've been able to accomplish many different things. We've been able to purchase a van that operates every day here within the Seneca Nation to be able to move our members to and from medical appointments that they may have. We've been able to make a difference.
We got it was a $160 million municipal bond, and with that money, we built 2 sports complexes, 3 water towers, early childhood learning that our members can have a place to put their kids that are safe and that we have control of. Whatever money is we don't spend, we give it right back to the nation, and the nation will reinvest it in other places.
I'm very excited that our youngsters are getting more educated and going to colleges and come back and help out and build this Seneca Nation more. That's how we keep staying diverse and keep moving forward.
There's a lot that happens when you have that human-to-human networking experience. It provides an opportunity and stepping stone to learn from one another.
Do your research, find us, and use us. My clients can call me anytime and ask me questions about government contracting.
And that's what we do. We help you do government contracting, whatever it may be, helping you get registered, helping you find opportunities.
We have a really beautiful land and we have really beautiful people, and we want people to know about us. We want people to know that we're here. This is where our people are from. This is our homeland.
Our members are seeing their uncles, their fathers, and that are doing this, giving them a little bit of encouragement and confidence that they can do the same also.
If you have a concept, if you have an idea, find a way to get started as soon as you can. Find that path and you can make it.
You've got to have that absolute confidence in yourself to say, got to make it happen. Sharpen those tools.
If I've learned anything, it's the power of building your network. These relationships can create opportunities that you could have never imagined.
Our people have been disadvantaged over the years, but if you look at the opportunities that present themselves today, they are tremendous for the Native community.
Coming from a Mexican-American immigrant background, having access to these kinds of things can be difficult, and so we tell our community and we tell others that this is important and they should pay attention.
With all of the activity that the National Center works to progress, having that kind of resource brings some opportunity.
Something that we've done over the last year and a half was we started a national beer collaboration, and the whole intent around that was to create awareness around the history of Native people, but to also acknowledge the contributions that we're currently making today and taking proceeds from those sales and investing them in Native nonprofits.
As Native people, we're very vision-oriented naturally, and I think that's an extreme strength for us. And I would just encourage, more folks to look in that direction.
OnTech Incorporated, though we have done extremely well, many of our family members, our ancestors, the Native people have been entrepreneurs long before I have. They're the forefront of being a business owner and negotiating and contracting and building a business. I follow in their footprints.
Take those risks. Any fear that you may have, some doubts, that is just in that moment. Just meeting other individuals, definitely learn that integrity is a lot more important in your business than anything.
The NCAIED, their team, and the Native Age program does a great job in guiding anybody that would be interested in whether you're starting a company, whether you're up and running, or whether you're just trying to survive out there. In helping not just tribal-owned businesses, but Native American Indians that are entrepreneurs.
If you do what you love, you can't go wrong, because once you start and you're very passionate about what you do, you put a lot of work, a lot of thought into it, then things start falling into place.
The ability to utilize your time and take a risk and ask someone. And I think there's really a great opportunity for us Native people to pioneer and go into new spaces.
There's always important ways of learning things better and learning. I didn't walk in knowing federal government contracting. You've mastered something, and if you haven't quite mastered it yet, then go off and learn it well from someone who has mastered it.
That's what develops leadership. That's what develops character. I think it's extremely important if you have a small business to pursue those opportunities. Take advantage of those advantages.
I'm a recipient of my ancestors thinking about the next generations. The lineage that comes after you. Protect that they have more than what you had.
It's a Native entrepreneur-owned business or a tribally owned business. It's really impactful. Those dollars circulate back within the community, and I think that's the real value in supporting Native businesses.
As Natives, acknowledging our relationship and how we can relate to each other in our day-to-day challenges, but also sharing those opportunities help sustain the culture, the traditions, the language, no matter what we do.
I love the word knowledge share because it's not always just sitting in a room, you know, receiving the knowledge. It's like you're also part of the conversation and sharing the knowledge as well.
And I love it when I hear of a company coming in, they've never been to a Native Edge. We recently had this again in Oregon, and they develop, and as a result of it, they go after a contract, and then as a result of that, they get to hire 50, 100 new employees, that kind of thing. And then they come back and they tell you, you know, like, hey, this past year, this is what I've done, and thank you because you gave me the strength and courage to just go after it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they sit on their hand, they have so much information, and sometimes it's just at their fingertips, and it's just that little bit of encouragement that then they want to go pursue that.
Well, you know, a lot of times we use the word empowerment. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
Empowerment to me, I think it's part of that, you know, just the encouragement that you can receive from someone that sees that in you, and it just may be one or two words or a short conversation, and it has empowered you to take the next step, to not be afraid. Because really it's our own fear that kind of prevents us sometimes, right?
Well, I think it's fear that you can't get to your next level because you hold yourself back. A lot of times, like, you know, your worst enemy is looking back at you in the mirror. And I think empowerment can come from others, but sometimes you just can empower yourself, you know, light a fire for whatever reason. So I think these trainings and the work that we do at the National Center, it's all around empowerment and making sure that our businesses have a voice and that our clients that we work with, we're there to support them in their needs.
Absolutely.
I grew up here in the community, lived here all my life. Our families were entrepreneurs, we had to be. Our entrepreneurial spirit, we used that to start small businesses that would bring jobs to our reservation.
PCI Federal Services, we started with one employee. The exponential growth that we've experienced, we're hopeful that we'll cross that 1,000 employee threshold later this year.
We continue to look for partners, and we continue to look for organic growth. Native Edge is a great way to do it.
The Native Edge Institute, this is our second time here in Alabama.
Business is complex. You're not alone. There's programs out there funded with our tax dollar.
There's state programs, there's local programs, there's national programs like our Arizona MBDA Export Center, and our services are for all minorities. I put a panel together of myself and Brian Davis, Alabama ITA, working with him to see what our clientele needs are and what he can offer.
Using SBA's programs, Hub Zone, Apex Centers, Minority Business Development Centers. These programs alone help me leverage into working with prime contractors and being prime to the government.
Opportunities like this, getting to interact with a lot of business owners, just provide so many different networking opportunities that can really help a business exponentially.
All right, here we go. I'm so thankful that all y'all wanted to go on the tour. Hopefully you'll be able to see some great progress that our tribe has made.
PCI Federal Services was created in 2016 by the Porch Band of Creek Indians. It's funny the things you remember growing up, like we played in that ditch, you know? I mean, there was nothing between there. It's just amazing in such a short amount of time how far we've come.
In 1988, we started to provide products and services to our federal government. And through that creation, it really started us to thinking about what we could do that would create revenues to bring back to seed our growth.
PCI.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do our drawing. So one last time, if you haven't put your business card or your name on a card, please do so. Right here, we're going to do 3 drawings. So just little disclaimers about this. So it's for our Reservation Economic Summit, which is our annual conference happening March 23rd through 25th or 26th? I can't remember. But the 4 days for 2026 can only be used by you. You can't transfer it to someone else. Lodging and travel costs fall on you, and must be present to win. So if I call your name right here, you have to be here. All right, okay, we'll do the first one. What? Oh, okay, we're waiting. Arthur, did you need to put one in? No, you're good? Okay. 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 Arthur, she's gonna put your name on this card. So the first one is Traven. Yay! So what we'll do is I will have your contact info, so I'll be able to email you, and it's I'll give you an access code that you utilize when the time comes, but I'll definitely be in touch with you about it. Okay, yep. Stacy D. Yay! Awesome. Okay, one more. Oh, look.
I want it to be real random.
Okay. Jody Harth. Yay! Okay. I gotta remember these are in my pocket, and I will be in contact with you guys. So we are going to go on with our next session. This is our leadership session. So when we go to Native Edge Institute, our team arrives like 2 days ahead. We not just host the Native Edge, but we also go into the surrounding communities, and we like to visit different businesses. If you kind of can see what we've done, some of the videos that played during the lunch hour. And then also if you ever seen like a recap video, we go out into the community and visit different small businesses, all the way from, I think we did like a hairdresser before, those who are into government contracting. We visited businesses that created earrings and are working on selling those products, so we got to see the start to finish with some of them. But yesterday we got to meet with Eddie. And Eddie is the founder of Resilience Coffee. And he's just a really awesome story. And so I just wanted to introduce him and then also probably do a little Q&A afterwards. But if you guys could give your attention to Eddie. Are you going to speak up there?
I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes, yeah? Oh, you got one?
Oh, I don't have a timer. But
I got one.
okay. And then I can stay up here.
Hi guys, Machuxas. I don't know if you guys are from out of town. Here in Sacramento is Miwok Homelands and Nishinan and Maidu peoples. And I'm associated with the Miwok people, and they say Machuxas. That's hi, how are you? I'm Eddie Herrera with Resilience Coffee. I'm a local coffee roaster, mobile coffee. You will probably see me at the big times around here and the local powwows and places like that. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. I am honored that Kaya reached out to me and took interest in who I am and what I do. I see not a lot of young people in here, and to break the ice, I was gonna do something. And what am I saying? Everyone, I feel like we're all about the same age and pursuing the same endeavors, but I would love to see younger people in the building. I'm gonna break the ice by doing I don't know if you guys listen to hip hop, but I will do a verse because I feel passionate about this verse, all right? I'm from that 916, keeping time with the clapstick, indigenous instruments. This is how we spit, and that's how I'm gonna raise my kids. So I stay present, invested, never stressing. I'm blessed with the gift to uplift. Set aside all my differences, find that common ground. I could build a bridge or I could build a fence. It's my decision in the end. If you find a true friend, you better tell them that you love them, cause you never know the next time you're gonna see them. I've lost some that way, thinking, dang, I just saw them the other day. Sometimes it makes no sense. I just meant we needed an adjustment, not your usual suspects. So be sure to put your heart in your words before you're ready for departure. Thank you. All right. All right. Now I feel more comfortable. Yeah. So anyways, Resilience Coffee, I started in 2017 as a mobile business to learn the learning curve with the least amount of overhead. So I thought about doing a mobile. I got the idea to do the mobile standing in line for tacos, Indian tacos at the Stanford powwow. There was about 4 taco vendors, a couple lemonade vendors, some other usual vendors that we see. And then the idea occurred to me that most everybody here would probably get a cup of coffee. And that solidified the idea to do a mobile, and then built it out in about 6 months. I know some of the people that are here are in investments because I was looking at who's here, and I admire that someone has taken it upon themselves to do an investment group that's considering the Native community. That is much appreciated and very necessary. I think the biggest hindrance to starting a business is the capital. I think that's the biggest roadblock. Another big hindrance is not having enough information. My advice is to get on the journey and make as many mistakes, because for me personally, I learned from all of my mistakes. I take a loss and I try not to look at it as a loss. I look at it as a lesson, and however much that cost me is how much that lesson cost me. So it could be pricey, but it's also educational. Tacking on to what Ed Byers was talking about not too long ago was the umbrella of the LLCs. During the initial startup of my business, I changed from a sole proprietor to an LLC. I went ahead and kept the name Big Tree Coffee, which is the original name that I started my business as, and did the LLC, and then shortly after I filed the DBA for Resilience Coffee. Why did I do that? Because I wanted a brand name that's more identifiable and it didn't have to explain it all the time. I went from an idea to learning about what I was doing to now operating in what I'm doing. Everything I've learned, I learned by trial and error. Some of the things that I discovered was that depending on what county you're in and what city you're operating in, it's going to have more setbacks or hoops to jump through in order to get your business established and going. If you knew that in advance, you could probably start your business in a different county and have less restrictions. Another thing I learned was if you're selling items for profit, you'll need a business permit, and those are free. If you're not taking any sales tax, you can forego that business permit if you're doing wholesale. And that's a little loophole that you have to discover yourself by doing some investigation. So I was selling to-go cups of coffee and to-go bags of coffee without providing a bathroom or seating because I'm doing events. So therefore, that disqualified me from having to use my seller's permit because I was filing that as, not as zero profits on those items, which is okay when you're forget to file that. You could be hit with a lien or they will come after you, which is what happened to me. And then I had to contest that by finding out the different statutes and ordinances that the state required. So therefore, I loopholed that. Let me actually look at some of my notes because I am going everywhere. Okay, most helpful things that I discovered is just knowing the basic terms, accounting phrases, and things like that, because it's a bit intimidating when you don't have that background. But it's just translating things for your own understanding. Profits and loss, like what Ed was talking about, is super big. I imagine most people in this room are already familiar with some of these things. So forgive me if I go over information you already know. There's probably or hopefully people watching that don't know these things. Like I said, taking or just looking on YouTube different accounting information will get you up to speed on what you need to know to operate a business. My biggest advice when talking to people about how to design their coffee shop is the efficiency, or what I call the flow. That's the order in which things are made and put out, and therefore laying everything out near those areas of what you need to accomplish so that you restrict movements and restrict going for something. Because you could take care of a lot of things by just having your station, organized. So everything moves in the order of fulfillment. So that's what I call the flow. Some of the other things that I've learned too is not so much on focusing your prices, but on reducing your waste. Because a lot of what we consume is wasteful. So reducing the waste is probably going to save you more money than raising your prices. So when designing your drinks or whatever, have your proportions on point. Know how much you're, like, for example, the biggest thing in making coffee is usually espresso with milk, and everything is based off of that. And the biggest waste in that would be the milk. Because if you're pouring too much milk into your steam pitcher, you're wasting a lot of product at the end result in foam or whatever. And you could technically pour that into another drink, but oftentimes the next drink after that's going to be different with a different milk. So then you just hold it on to waste. But if you have your proportions on point, you'll never have any waste because there won't be any waste. Okay. Another thing that I've learned is that consistency is critical for people to come back and patronize you again. So the initial customer service, it's a smile or asking a person how they're doing, not necessarily going into their personal lives, because that's very annoying when people that are, not necessarily sincere or asking you personal questions. It's annoying. So don't pry into people's personal lives. Just have a positive customer service outlook and let the customer feel important but you are just, taking their order and fulfilling their order. But having that experience to be pleasant will oftentimes have that customer come back, beyond having absolutely a product that you stand behind. Another couple things is that I found difficult initially when I first started was in knowing my value and what to charge people. Because mentally, there is, well, for me specifically, in the venues that I'm at, is typically people that don't necessarily make a lot of money, so you don't want to take their money, so there's that mental thing. But by not honoring your own product and honoring your own value, you don't want to rob yourself by having your product too cheap. I think if your product is too cheap, everyone else doesn't value it. There has to be a value associated to it. And being comfortable and knowing what that is going to propel you to meet your overhead. And that's another thing too, is knowing all your numbers of your overhead and making sure some of that is profitable. I think that's basically like a lot of the summarized business overview stuff that is pretty generic, but now it's out of the way. I'll talk about myself now. I'm a Sacramentan, born and raised. When it comes to the indigenous community at large, there is a mistaken idea that the people are no longer here, that they've been completely, whitewashed or removed. But in reality, the host peoples are always present. You never know where you're going to run into people. It's a beautiful reminder when you go somewhere, when you recognize Native people. And my hope by being here is to promote more entrepreneurs, because I think seeing people doing what you want to do or something similar will encourage you to step out and follow your own dreams. My own journey being a Sacramentan, for me, Sacramento is very diverse. So I've never had a problem in speaking to people that didn't look like me. I found out that the world is a lot more narrow-minded as I got away from Sacramento. Being a metropolitan area, you think the world looks like what you were raised in. And when you get outside of your community, you see other communities, you find out it's not collective in their thinking, and they are very comfortable in their own group. That's where I started feeling pushback, is going outside of my environment. Like I said, when you have customer service, you can rely on your customer service to get you through those uncomfortable situations by sticking to your P's and Q's. Have I ever refused the right to serve somebody? No. I feel like you can find something that you can agree upon. Like if a customer is not satisfied with something, I have to find out why they're not happy and then alleviate that, So it's like, it doesn't matter what your background is. I think you could come to some kind of understanding. Kaya, do you have any questions for me? Because by the way, so this is the first time I'm speaking in public, because I typically just handle my business and do my thing, but I'm going through a little time of change. So when Kaya approached me to do this, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this, so here I am speaking. But any questions for me?
Yeah, we had some really great conversations yesterday, and one of the things that we talked about was that what was important to you within your business and being an entrepreneur was your buying power. Mm-hmm. And where your beans from and everything. Yeah. And so we got to see some of the labeling and all that went into it, and then those stories behind it. So maybe you want to go into that.
All right, so what I take pride in is my sourcing. I source my coffee from a cooperative in Chiapas, Mexico. I do that because I believe in my US dollars going into a community to make a greater change. The cooperative I work with is called Mayan Winds Legacy. You could look them up online. That is a cooperative started by Juan Loretta in the early 2000s out of Chiapas, Mexico. If you guys are familiar with Chiapas, you guys would know the history of the Zapatista movement that was happening there in the 90s. Juan, being here from California, originally from San Jose, was involved in an organization called the Black Berets, which is similar to AIM and is similar to the Black Panthers, which is a political group that's been organized to defend the community. That's what that is. So Juan, being that type of person, got involved in the Zapatista movement in the mid-90s in Chiapas to go help their plight. What is their plight? Their plight is the Mayan farmers were being, their lands were being taken away from them to be given to corporations to grow the same crop, coffee or what have it, whether it's sugar or cotton or coffee, or there's other things. But the point is that Juan, seeing the resources that the community held and saw their poverty and thought, what could I do to change this? So he got himself involved, personally started the cooperative, married a woman down there and raised a family down there. And since they've created their the cooperative, they've put about 20 people from that community through college. That means they were able to provide for their education and move them forward to work in the business of the cooperative. It's a family business in the sense that, like, if you were to see one of my coffee bags, you will see a Mayan dancer on the bag, which is super important, again, because the visual aspect of the regalia of that Mayan dancer on the bag of coffee, meaning this is from the people for the people, and they take pride in what they've created. So back to what I was saying. So his daughter is the one that actually screen prints the bags. So it's like everyone has a thing that one of my philosophies is every bean counts, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with coffee. So basically, coffee is a cherry that looks very much like a cherry that we grow here in California, where it's a fruit and in the center is a seed. You pulp the fruit, and then you have two seeds that face each other. Those are your coffee beans, which are technically seeds. If you're familiar with your coffee, it looks like it's got two round sides, and the flat side, those are facing each other. That's the seed. Then you dry those. Well, first you gotta grow the plant, tend to the plant, water it, harvest it, fertilize it. Harvest the plant at the right time, dry the fruit, or shuck the fruit, dry the seeds, rotate them, takes a few days in the sun, and then that's bagged and then shipped to people like me that are going to roast it. Now, when I get that coffee, I consider all of that process by people that look like me. So one seed, if I don't want to drop any seeds on the ground, I don't want to waste any coffee on the counter, I want to utilize everything. So back to the waste part of it. But by honoring the sweat and the labor that went into cultivating that crop, I put a lot of intention into what I do. And honestly, how people talk about putting love in their food, you can taste it, I think. And I think my coffee is amazing. Anything else?
Something else that we talked about as well was, I know you talked about your original business name, but going into Resilience Coffee and what that meant. So it started off during COVID.
Yeah.
But what does it mean to you now?
All right, it's the same thing it meant then. Is all of this? So my business is a small business. It's actually a micro business. I started it at the local farmers markets and growing into a brick and mortar with wholesale clients. Now, the Resilience Coffee part came after the pandemic, because when you're working, you're just thinking about your job, and you're thinking about what you're doing, and you're thinking about the money that needs to be made. when all of that stops, well, now you have all these anxieties about what are you going to do and how are you going to do it. So that was that time to pivot, and that's when I changed the name to Resilience, because there's always something that happens, always something that goes wrong, and you can't plan for everything. And it's good to have insurance, I'll say that, but pushing forward from your failings, or for, when things don't go right, you have to have resilience, because if you continue, well, first of all, if your business is not making money, you should probably close your business if it's not profitable, but if it is profitable, you want to perpetuate that profit. Having resilience is I figured, something that everyone can identify with internationally, and I think it's also something that can uplift you just by seeing the word resilience. And my logo is an oak tree, because here in California, we experience a lot of fires. I think Ed mentioned he was from Paradise. I was wondering if that was Paradise, California, because you guys are aware. If you're not aware, there's a great Netflix documentary about the fire that came through Paradise and eradicated that town. That town no longer exists. A lot of the people were displaced. But back to the point about fires. Fires are not something new. They're something that happen every single year here in California. It's resilient because it takes its taproot way down to the groundwaters. That's where it gets. Oak trees are remarkable because humans to tend it. And it's really hard to grow an oak tree. Another thing, the oak tree being the symbol of resilience, because it's also a food crop for the people here. A lot of the people here eat acorn. We call it uti, like we call the acorn soup. Nupa, that's all Miwok. Nupa, that's all Miwok. And it's been it's gotten people through hard times. Even in the 1950s and 60s, where there wasn't a lot of resources, there wasn't a lot of programs to help people. So a lot of the peoples turned to their original foods to sustain them through the hard times, and it continues to this day. And I identify highly with the oak tree. Again, being a Sacramentan, one of the neighborhoods in Sacramento that is synonymous with my upbringing in South Sac is Oak Park, and the Oaks are back again, tied to my childhood. But moving forward in life, being around my ex-wife's people, the Miwok people here, I came into the realization of what I see as Native America, and being a percentage of the population. I think it was 0.01% for a long time for the peoples to be identified here. Then identify with that put me on a different perspective. And my value system is not necessarily the same as the American value system, but I also recognize the capitalistic system that we live in. And in order to play the game, you have to play the game, and you have to understand the economics. You have to understand capitalistic society. So you have to put your foot forward and your hands on that. And in order to affect change, you have to get involved. So seeing something like this that's promoting entrepreneurship, putting people on that path, getting people to acquire assets, putting people on that path, getting people to acquire assets. Why? Why all these things, right? The buying power, if you have enough money, you can make a greater impact. And that doesn't necessarily mean paying for everything. That means being able to talk to your elected officials in your area and demanding things that need to be done in your community. That is my overall goal for my business, is to move so much coffee in and out of the state. So where, here's an example, education is under attack right now in this country. There's gonna be public schools that are gonna be losing funding for education. Back in the 80s, there was a change where they took a lot of electives out of public school. Why? You know, there's always a long-term agenda, and we don't know what's going on, but we do recognize that education is important. So if you're a business in that area, you could talk to your elected officials to partner with you to make sure that some of those things get the resources that are necessary. This just might be my Sacramento thinking because I grew up here in the capital. I don't know if it translates throughout the rest of the country. It's just the way I see things. Anything else? Let me see my timer, how much time I got. Because I got another verse. No, I'm just kidding. No, my timer's gone. My time is all up. Thank you for having me here. I'm Eddie Herrera. You can find me at resiliencecoffee.com, resilience_coffee on Instagram. DM me. I was going to say earlier, I don't even have a business card. I stopped printing business cards a long time ago. I got one of those Popples, and I stopped using that too because they were disconnected. I figure everyone gets a hold of everyone nowadays on social media, and I'm over there now. Thank you so much. What do you say? I mean, I can ask questions to see who's. No, I just want to point at somebody and be like, "How old are you?" How old are you?
I just want to say I think you're an excellent speaker. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Eddie. Next, we are going to, actually, I need to make an announcement before we move into our next session. Our live streaming right now is kind of going in and out, so I think we're going to end it for this next session, but it is, the recording will be sent out. The recording will be sent out after the event has concluded and we have time to make sure that it's fully uploaded, but we're going to bring Erin Abrahamson back up so she can introduce the next panel.